And then they chopped the whole head off. We carried the head around for 3 or 4 days. Train running over somebody, their body spread all over the place, brains on the wall, fire, all kinds of stuff. Most people would be completely shocked and destroyed to find out how much is out there on these peer-to-peer networks as far as pedophilia, child porn, stuff like that. If I remember correctly, when the molestation was happening, he was 11, and he was 13 by the time I was hired to kill him.
So he molested an 11-year-old and then wanted to kill him to get away with his sentence?
Yeah, so he wouldn't go to jail. Either you burn them slow with diesel fuel or acid cooks them, and then they call that el guiso, which means soup. You turn them into human soup. So it's pretty ruthless. And by the time I left, they were just chopping heads off. He said, and then I'm going to need you to take all your clothes off because I'm going to check you for a wire. And I had 3 devices on me at that time. There was a lot of demonic stuff, some satanic angles to it, and most of them that is messing with like order of 9 angles. And that's white supremacy, but it's heavily satanic, pedophilia, rape. I passed out in the truck for a little bit, and I was woken up to them banging on the window going, pale horse, you got to get out and see this. I'm like, what's up, man? They're like, remember us talking about a sacrifice?
This week's episode is sponsored by Change. Change is the #1 mentoring program that teaches you e-commerce from scratch. Change has a real community with real results. I have attended many of his events and retreats across the world and got to meet members and the amazing community of like-minded people. Ryan works with a lot of big names in the business world, helping them build online businesses and e-commerce. Change offers personal one-on-one support, no experience needed, but like anything, this takes time and is not a get-rich-quick scheme. Go follow Ryan on Instagram at RyanJB, and he will guide you through the steps to help you get started and build a successful online business. You can now follow me on all my social media platforms to find out who my latest guest will be. And don't forget to click the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you're notified for when my next podcast goes live. And boom, we're on. And today's guest, we've got Scott Payne. How are we?
Good, man.
Undercover FBI agent against biker gang, going right into the depths of hell. Nearly dead a few times, but you were very good at befriending people. Very good at your job. Where can people buy your book first and foremost?
Well, overseas, we're still working on that. That's going to come out eventually. But right now, through Canada and the United States, anywhere, man. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, anywhere you can, or just go to Simon & Schuster's website. You can get that, and the audiobook is me as well. If people like audiobooks, it's my voice. I went in the studio and did it. So,
first and foremost, thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for giving me your time. Before we get into all the madness, though, I always like to go back to the start with my guests to get more a bit of understanding about you, Scott, where you grew up and how it all began.
Well, I grew up in South Carolina, in the United States, Greenville, South Carolina. Family was a Christian family. Played ball, played sports, and then went to college in Charleston, North Charleston, South Carolina, at Charleston Southern University. I played football there, played Division I. And then after that, I got hired by the sheriff's office, and I was a cop in uniform for 3 years, and I was a vice narcotics investigator for 2, and then I got hired by the FBI.
How were you at school?
I was pretty good, actually, yeah. Don't let the accent fool you is what I usually say. But yeah, I had my last 2 years, I had a 3.8 average. I was on the dean's list my last 2 years playing NCAA football. So
what position did you play?
Line. I was bigger then, you know.
How big? Because you're still big.
Yeah, I got around like 290, 295 back then. Maybe another year I could have busted over 300, but yeah.
Does the weight make a big difference? The bigger you are, the easier it is?
Yeah. The heavier you are, the more weight you should be able to push. And then on top of that, the heavier you are once you start moving. I mean, it's easier to move people. You know, if I'm 240 pounds and I'm trying to bust up against a 350-pound person, that's going to be pretty tough. You know.
So what was the decision to join the cops?
When I was in college, I was taking electives. I didn't know what I was going to do. You know, I was just changing my major. And then I came across the criminal justice course, and I was like, man, I really like that. And I started diving more into it. Not so much like legal lawyer stuff, but like cop stuff. The criminal mind, criminology, how things work, you know, the Constitution of the United States. And then I took a bite into that, and I was already bouncing at nightclubs as a side job to make money. And at most of the clubs I worked at, there would be a cop outside, especially on the weekend, because they're doing it as a side job as well. And I would just start talking to them, just being a sponge, just asking all the questions. And then whenever I did a ride along, like you can sign your life away and get in the car with a cop and ride with them for the whole shift, that was pretty much it. I knew I wanted to be a cop.
Straight away?
Yeah.
Where was this?
I was in North Charleston, South Carolina at the time.
Is there much happening there? Crime?
Yeah, I mean, anywhere you go. I mean, it might be in a pocket of that town, but yeah, you can find work.
And what's the process to become a cop there?
Well, I applied with 4 different sheriff's offices, police departments, and I got hired by one. So you go through the process. I mean, you're gonna have to do a lie detector, a polygraph. You'll have to do a physical fitness test. You'll have to do some type of, I don't know, skills test, things like that, and then interviews.
What was your first ever arrest?
Oh man, first ever arrest in uniform. That's a good one. I don't know off the top of my head, because when you come out as a brand new cop out of the academy, you get partnered up with the senior agent, most likely a 2-striper. I was a single stripe, so they had 2 stripes, be a master deputy, and they train you. So you're riding with them. So technically we're both making the arrest because I'm being trained, and then they're training you, and then eventually they set you off on your own. But yeah, I don't remember.
How long do you do that for? 3 years?
I did 3 years in uniform. Yeah.
What's the worst thing you've seen within those 3 years?
Oh, everything. And when you're a uniform cop, you roll up on people at their worst most of the time, or it's after the fact. I mean, bodies everywhere, train running over somebody, their bodies spread all over the place, brains on the wall, fire, all kinds of stuff.
What's the worst FBI or the 3-year one? What was the worst you seen?
At the sheriff's office?
What job's harder?
I mean, the burned body was pretty bad. I mean, somebody spread all the way down the railroad tracks is pretty bad.
What was the burnt body?
Where they were at, I guess they fell asleep. I think best I could tell when we got there, they had fell asleep with like a cigarette or something. The house caught on fire. But where they died in a position where they were hurting. They were trying to climb out of the bed, and they kind of burnt right on the wall. That was pretty bad.
Did you see that?
Oh yeah. And then there's always the rough ones, like when you get we call them welfare checks, like a family member can't reach another family member, and they call the cops and say, hey, can you go check? I hadn't heard from my aunt, my mother, or whatever, my brother. And then, you know, in the summer, when you roll up, if there's a dead body and it's hot, you can usually smell it as soon as you get out of your car. And then you got to force entry and get into the house and then find them dead.
How do you deal with that at the start of your career to then kind of go over that? Because as human beings, I always say it, like I never realised the depths of what police officers have to go through on a daily basis. It must be one of the most negative jobs in the world, even worse than people that go to war, because they see this stuff on a daily and it's all different.
Yeah. I have a lot of friends in the community, in the first responders and the military. So they say exactly what you said. Military, I mean, a lot of us have post-traumatic stress. We have anxiety. We have depression. We have substance abuse. We have divorce. We have high suicide rates. And we're very high in dying within the first 5 years after retiring. So it's a pressure cooker, but it's a calling. And I don't think we do good enough, at least, especially back then, did we do good enough providing help? Because there's that stigma. If you are a type A personality and you're a go-getter and I'm tough, you're not going to ask for help, but you need to ask for help.
Yeah, you tend to see those are the ones who break the most.
Yeah.
because it's a shitty job, shitty pay.
Yep.
No one cares. The numbers are there. Number one to become addict. Number one to be suicidal. Number one divorce rate. Why do people sign up?
Like I said, it's a calling. I mean, I believe I was put on this earth to serve. I recently came to that conclusion. I'm like, what am I doing, man? But I'm like, I'm retired, but I'm still serving. I'm still an instructor. I still teach active shooter response and all kinds of classes. And then I teach my undercover stuff. So I'm still trying to serve, but you just gotta have a servant's heart and a kind of a shepherd mentality. And when I say shepherd, I mean guarding the flock. You know what I mean?
Do you know the depths of it when you actually start, though? Because you're still a young gun, kind of buzzing, happy that you're catching bad guys, not really caring what you're seeing.
Ready to make a change.
Yeah.
Just want to make
change
a
the world.
Yeah.
Not realizing you get one drug lord off the street, there's another one straight back in.
I know. Yeah, you can dry it up for a little bit. You take off a big shipment, maybe this town gets, dry from cocaine for a month or two. But yeah, it's a supply and demand game when it comes to drugs and stuff. But it's, we're getting better at putting it out there about the mental health of first responders. Again, because everything you said, the suicide rate, divorce rate, everything else. It's just, it's hard for, this is what I tell people when I'm teaching. I'm like, look, I get where you don't want to talk to the psychologist at your department, because what if that leaks? Or what if management finds out you're talking to the psychologist and maybe they start going, well, should we promote this person? Should this person be a cop? So you kind of get to the point where you don't want to ask for help because you don't want anybody to know. I tell those people, that's fine. Go find somebody. Go somewhere else outside of your department, find somebody. And if that one doesn't work, go somewhere else. I always ask people, like, have you ever had food poisoning?
Mm-hmm.
I'll ask you, have you had it?
Yeah.
Did you quit eating?
No.
I mean, I just changed what I was eating,
I just eat through it, brother.
I know, right?
I just eat more.
That's what I'm like. I'm like, man, I'm not going to eat at that place anymore, but I'm still going to eat a sub sandwich somewhere else,
The decision to join the FBI?
Well, being a cop for 5 years, as you already stated, you don't make a lot of money. But what they're really, at least where I was at and what I see a lot, is they're really, really bad at giving you raises. Like the county council or the politicians will give themselves raises, and they may raise the starting pay, but you as the actual cop, it's just like when I came in, I'm a brand new kid. I just got out of the academy, but I got a 4-year degree. I'm making as much money as the two-striper who's training me, and he's not happy about it. And he lets me know it every day. But fast forward 4 years, I'm doing the same thing. I'm training somebody, and they're making as much money as me on day one because you're not getting your raises. So what I started looking at is, where am I going to be in 5 years? And when I started looking at federal, because we were working with them, and when I started looking at federal, I was like, in 5 years, man, I would be a GS 13, and that's decent money for a cop. It's really good money for a cop on the federal pay level, as long as you don't screw up and get fired, But that's kind of what I started looking at. But I also looked at the gamut of all they did. And at first I didn't know. I mean, I knew what Drug Enforcement Administration did, DEA. I thought FBI mainly just worked bank robberies and white collar stuff. I didn't know. It was my sergeant in the narcotics unit who told me. He said, man, they work everything. And he said, if I was your age and I was single and I had a 4-year degree, he said, I would apply with the FBI and I would put New York City as my first office. And I was like, man, you are crazy. Well, I got hired. I had New York City as number 36 out of 56. I got New York City. So I was like, I told him, I was like, you jinxed me.
How? Because New York City must be the crime capital of America. It must be up there.
Well, it depends on who's running the city.
Yeah.
Because when I was there, the mayor wasn't that bad. And I mean, I think at that point, NYPD, New York Police Department, had like 42,000 cops. They don't have those numbers anymore. And it's a lot different than it was then. But I wouldn't say crime capital of the world. I mean, there's times where New Orleans was named the murder capital of the world. Memphis, Tennessee has been the murder capital for quite a while. And now they're just coming in and cleaning it up.
fuck's sake, brother, you should have told me that before I came here.
That's the opposite end of the state. You're in the mountains. You're good, man. You're in the mountains. That's the whole other side.
Yeah, because I think Chicago or Philadelphia is pretty bad for murder.
Yeah. And I mean, if demographics can be weird, because if you're in a place as populated as South Chicago or as populated as New York City, well, maybe you may see bigger numbers than you would in Tennessee. But per capita, you say, hey, man, out of this many people living here, this many people are being killed.
What's the training like to join the FBI? Is it different from joining the police force at the start?
Yeah. I mean, well, some parts are similar. You're going to go through all these processes. You're going to end up going through an academy if you get picked and hired. But I will tell you, some of the other things about the FBI were very, very different and more strenuous and more thorough, at least when I went in, because it was, and I mean, for many, many years after I was in, you have a phase one where you go down and you take a test, and it might be asking you all kinds of like psychological, I'm more likely to do this in this situation stuff. And then they'll switch it to like all math. And I'm like, I told you I had a 3.8 average, but that was years before that. And I'm looking at accountants and they're walking out after that math part and they're going, I don't even know if I passed. And I'm like, well, if you didn't pass, I know I didn't pass. You're an accountant. But, and then it comes back into psychological. Then you're going to, in the meantime, you're going to be getting a fit test, your fitness level. You got to pass fitness, a pre-academy fitness test. You have to, they're checking your body fat. They're doing all that stuff. And then the polygraph. The polygraph for the FBI was way more thorough than any other polygraph I'd had at that point.
What sort of questions?
Well, they're going to ask stuff like, have you ever done drugs in the last 10 years and this, that, and the other. And, times change, but when I came in there, I was a narcotics investigator. I worked dope, right? So I get there and they say, and one of the questions was, have you done any illegal narcotics in the last 10 years? And I said, it's going to be pretty close. I said, it's right at the 10-year mark. I said, I did like Dianabol steroids. I'm like, but it was like 10 cc's. I didn't know what I was doing. I spread it over 8 weeks. It wouldn't have been enough to make a chihuahua bigger, really, But they were like, no, we're not concerned with that. And then I said, then the answer is no. Next question was, have you smoked marijuana in the last 3 years? And I went, this is 1998. And I'm like, not now. Weed's not a big deal now. But I'm like, you just asked me, have I done any illegal narcotics in the last 10 years? Now you're asking me if I smoked marijuana in the last 3. I said, marijuana is an illegal narcotic. And he goes, yeah, but you could have smoked it up to 3 years ago. And I'm like, okay, well, that's not, well, then the answer is still no, because I just told you no on the other one. But yeah, it was pretty like they dove deep. Like, have you ever smoked marijuana? Yeah. Well, they wanted to know, like, did I buy it? Did I sell it? Did I package it? Where did I keep it? All this stuff. And I'm like, man, it was high school. I'm like, I'm the guy that would put my money in. Somebody would go get it. They'd bring it back. If we were at the party, you might hit it, and then somebody would take the rest home. That's it.
What was your first job?
I grew up in a landscaping company. It was my dad's. But, and I put this in the book, but it wasn't, that's really where I got a lot of my work ethic. I get my work ethic from my parents for sure. But like when you're a young teenage boy or a kid growing up, the bigger and stronger I got, the more jobs I got, the more stuff I could do. Once I was a teenager, I would get dropped off with the whole landscaping crew. My dad would have like 3 crews. So you're out there with a foreman, and these are grown men smoking filterless cigarettes, putting whiskey in their coffee first thing in the morning. And here I am, and they're looking at me like, oh, you're the boss's kid. You're going to get it easy. So all I did was outwork them. I'm like, I got to earn their respect. So I would try to run them in the ground, no matter what.
Prove.
Yeah, because I'm like, hey, if you quit taking a cigarette break every 15 minutes, we might get this job done a little quicker,
So when you got into the FBI, how was that feeling for you? Did you feel you were achieving stuff? Did you feel you're moving through the ranks? Was that a good feeling?
Yes. Well, yes. Because in the FBI, at least when I was in it, I don't know what it is now, but the only thing I was required to be is a case agent. You were hired, you were trained, you get to your office, you're going to be a case agent. You're going to be an investigator. You're going to build cases, no matter whichever squad you're on, what violations you're working. If I'm on the Colombian drug squad, then I need to be building my own cases and doing stuff. Now, granted, as a new agent in New York City, there's still a training. I mean, you come in and you're like, hey, I've never taken a federal case from beginning to end, and I've never worked with the feds before. So you start learning. But by the time I was in New York City for 3 years, and then I transferred down to the border of Mexico. When I got to the border of Mexico, that's where I really honed in my skills as far as being a case agent and building a case from beginning to end, it being airtight, and going to prosecution, and usually everybody pleads guilty.
When did you go undercover?
So that started at the sheriff's office, because when I became a vice and narcotics investigator, if you wanted, you could go to the academy, and it was like a 1-week school for undercover techniques. If you passed, then you were certified in undercover techniques, and I was, and that's when you start. My first drug buy was I was like 275, 6'4". I did not look like I smoked crack. You know what I mean? So this is 1998-ish. No, I'm sorry. This is 1996-ish. Yeah, because 1996, I was an ARC, and it's a high drug trafficking area, and my trainee's like, look, man, you're just going to wire you up. All you got to do is roll up to the corner. They're going to come running up. You just tell them you want a 20. Have a $20 bill. You just tell them you want a 20, and they're going to hand you a crack rock. I was so nervous because I'd never bought crack before. I'd never been down to that corner before. I definitely didn't look like I belonged on that corner. And I came pulling up. Now, you got to understand, there's 2 things I was worried about. Number 1 was I was scared because I'd never done this. Number 2, I was scared to mess up in front of my peers and my mentors who had been on the squad. I wanted to do well. But I went down there, and when I pulled up to the corner, sure enough, they all come running. What you want? What you want? What you want? James, I bet you I cracked the window about that far. I was like, I said, I want a 20. I was all scared, So he's like, and I slid the $20 bill through the window like I was using a vending machine or something. And he started yelling at me, said, roll down the daggum window so I can hand you this stuff. So he probably was a piece of soap. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I was so scared. I took that little sliver of crack and I drove off. But yeah, that was my first drug buy, undercover.
Obviously, you must start getting confidence the more you do it.
Yeah. But you don't really... At the state and local level, I never really went deep undercover. I mean, you don't really have all the backstopping to build your legend and make you look as real. Once you start scratching at the surface, it's more street level stuff. Roll up on a corner, buy some dope, or you're sitting in a car with a confidential informant who's buying the dope, and you're witness it and you're in there for protection kind of thing. But once I got in the FBI, this is what I thought at the state level. I'm like, everybody in the state in law enforcement, if they want to do this undercover, comes to the academy and takes this class. Wouldn't it be cool if they had like a database back then in 1996 where you could say, hey man, there's a guy named Scott in Greenville County. His skill set is lifting weights, riding motorcycles. He's a biker type dude. This is his background. And then maybe Charleston County needs somebody to come in and make some buys. And then you just help each other out. I think they do a lot of that now, but they weren't doing it then, because there's only so many ways in my county, no matter how big the county is. How many times am I going to be able to shave my facial hair different, grow my hair different, change my clothes and change cars before everybody starts knowing I'm a narc? Because you're going to get burned. Everybody's going to know you because you're doing a lot of high, you're doing high volume, you're picking people up, and you're going to trial or going to jail.
See, when you buy a 20 bit, like, what's the purpose of that? Because it's not exactly a big bust.
No, it's to work. We're always working our way up. Mm-hmm. It might be just to show that there's a problem there, and maybe we get that person with 3 buys, and then we hit them, and then we give them an option. Hey, who's your supplier? And you try to work your way up.
Are they the easier targets, the ones who are at the bottom level?
Yes and no. I could say yes because you're just rolling up, but almost every undercover I know will tell you, rolling up on a corner and buying dope is a heck of a lot more dangerous in our mind than just being deep undercover dealing with 20 kilos on the table, because it's just a different level.
Do you think anybody can become a snitch? Because I have interviewed some of the mafia guys who have killed 20 people.
Yeah.
And they only did 5 years in prison. Like, I think that's insane.
Yeah, it is.
I think they're serial killers.
Yeah, you can get more time for dope than you could murdering 20 people.
Do you think anybody can turn though? Is there anybody that's been staunch where you thought fair play when they've been offered a deal and they've not broken? Or does everybody break?
The majority break. And if they don't break, once they're sitting down with their attorney and we're sitting down with our prosecutor, then they realize, man, we're screwed. We want to play ball. We want to work, and it's too late because now everybody knows you've been arrested. And I'll tell them, I mean, especially at the federal level, that's where I really got good at that. I'd be like, look, I'm not here to BS you. If I arrest you, I'm not here to BS you. I'm not blowing smoke up your tail. I'm being truthful because I'm the only way I know how to be is transparent. If I was undercover, yeah, I'd be lying to you. I'm trying to buy dope off of you. But I'm like, look, you're under arrest, and here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm not telling you that I think you're a bad person. I'm not saying I disagree with what you did. What I'm saying is you're an adult and you chose to break the law and you got caught. And that's where we are. No harm, no foul. And then I let them know, this is what I've got. This is what conspiracy drug charges look like, or whatever the charge may be. And I lay it out and I let them know. If I picked you first, there's a reason I did. And you got a chance to help yourself. If you don't, about a month to a month and a half from now, you're going to be sitting with your defense attorney and I'm going to be sitting with the prosecutor. And that's when they're going to go, man, you've got an airtight case against me. And we're like, yeah, but now you don't even get a seat on the bus. Now you had options to get the first seat and now it's full. So, sometimes it doesn't work, but I was always cordial with people. And, you know, I remember one guy here actually, and I gave the pitch, everything was good and he still wouldn't break. And I'm like, the only thing I can tell you, I can only chalk this up to you are too young in the game and you don't know how it works. And I told him exactly what I told you. And a month and a half later, when he was sitting with his attorney, he goes, hey man, I want to work. And it's like, too late, man. Sorry, everybody knows. You can't do nothing now.
How many undercover jobs did you actually do?
I mean, I've done a bunch, but here's the thing. There are men and women out there doing undercover still who have done it. They've done way more than me. Done more harrowing things than me. I've just been blessed. I've been blessed with the Rolling Stone magazine article. I was blessed with meeting the right people, being introduced to the right people, getting the book deal, and you know, but I pay respects to all the men and women out there. And again, numbers I don't try to look at too much because let's just say I'm back at the sheriff's office. I mean, how many buys you think I'd make there? We're rolling out every week. How many undercovers? I mean, is that yeah, I mean, I'm rolling down the street, but deep undercover for 2 years, deep undercover for a year and a half. There's a bunch of those in mine and in my career.
Yeah, you went deep, like over 2 years undercovers. That's some Donnie Brasco stuff. That's
my mentor and friend.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, they call me the hillbilly. Somewhere during all this, somebody started calling me the hillbilly Donnie Brasco. Hillbilly being like a country guy.
But you don't look like, when I speak to coppers, it's not that I'm speaking to coppers, but I interview them now. And back in the day where I was from, they stood out a mile away.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know how that way they stand in the streets and you think, come on.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter what they look like, what they wear, what their facial hair's like. You don't give me that presence though. You give me a presence of a guy who's, you could have a conversation with, you've got the tattoos, you're very relaxed. I don't know how you were back in the day, but I just feel as if you could break up that conversation the same as me. I don't know if that's manipulation or what it is. I have that gift also.
Yeah, I just like to connect. I love connecting with people and I'm good at it. But I will tell you something, in the undercover world, I used to be high and tight, thin mustache. And then, you know, you dress and you walk a certain way. And when you walk into a place, because you're thinking cop, keep your back against the wall, all this stuff. When you're undercover, you can't do, you have to drop the cop. Because if I walked into an undercover scenario and I'm like backing my back against the wall, hey man, what's up, man? You want to sell me some? They're going to pick up on it.
It's unbelievable. Some of those cops who go undercover. I interviewed a couple of undercover cops from the UK. One, he ended up full of speed because it's like, I don't know what you call it here, but he went to a guy's house to buy drugs. He says, here you go. And he says, thank you. He says, take it. And he says, I'm going to go home and take it. He says, not take it. It was like pink stuff. So he ended up taking it. He had to take it or else his cover would have broke. And he ended up flying out. He ended up buzzing for 2-3 days. Great guy, but his head's gone. Now, because he went so undercover, he kind of get twitches and stuff. And also interviewed a man who went undercover as a paedophile. Darkest job you could ever work, because he had to pretend to be one.
Yep.
And I asked him the question because people must get a free pass as well. You know, a lot of coppers are corrupt and nasty also, and I used to I questioned them. Why would you want to do that? As a father, I wouldn't do it. I couldn't do it because of being a father, and I did question him. Like, why would you do it? And he says, "Look, James, I'm a dad." He says, "I didn't want to do it, but after I done my first job and saved that 11-year-old boy, how could I walk away?"
Yeah.
Because he knew it was happening every day. He says, "I couldn't walk away." He says, the feeling of trying to help people and save people at that young age, no matter who it was or how dark it was, someone had to do it. And I respected them after that, because you'll get a lot of dark people who want to work those. It's a free pass to see the grade A, grade B, grade C kind of photos and videos, but I've just interviewed enough people now, and I know how dark the world is, and I question everybody who works with kids or works with anywhere, because it's such a dark world at the moment. And yeah, I respected his answer, and I respected him for such a tough job. Yes, he really battles with it now.
You would be, most people would be completely shocked and destroyed to find out how much is out there on these peer-to-peer networks as far as pedophilia, child porn, stuff like that. I could do the undercovers where I was the guy picking you up. I could show you the book and go, hey, do you want, depending on how sophisticated it was, but they've been cases where it was so sophisticated, you like pick them up and you go, hey, all right, do you want boy or girl? Okay, what age group, what ethnicity? And you can break it down. I could do that. And I've helped people set up reverse stings where we had what looked like an underage girl in the room, and the guy shows up, and of course he says, oh no, I'm not here for that. And you open up his suitcase and he's got kids' toys and all the trinkets he was supposed to bring for the kid, you know. It's very, very sick. I can't look at the stuff though. There are those that do, and they work it all the time. Me personally, before I even had kids, I was training a guy who just got in the FBI, and he was out of the academy, and I was his training agent, and he was working that stuff. And I said, let's go, man, let's do it. And I remember just seeing like 4 photos. It rocked me for 2 weeks, man. Like my wife would come up to touch me, and I'd be like, I'm like, I got to get my head, you know, but there wasn't anywhere really for me to go turn to and say, you know, hey, this is kind of messing me up kind of thing.
It's a dark job. I've interviewed a man as well. He used to have to grade it, like grade the photos and put it in categories like A, B, and C. But he said he just became so desensitized sometimes. He was just eating his lunch. Grading them and just.
But is that good?
No.
You see what I'm saying? I've seen people who say they do great on it and it doesn't bother them at all. And I'm like, I don't know. But in the FBI, if you work that and you are exposed to those images and videos, we have you mandatory that you have to be psychologically assessed at least once a year.
To be fair, you should be assessed every day. Once a year is just.
I'd say at least quarterly, 4 times a year.
Yeah, at least.
You know,
because it's not humane. It's not what humans should be seeing, you know. But somebody's got to do it. What's the quickest undercover job you done? Like, what's the sort of time progress between a fast one and a sort of a long one?
So the quickest one that I can think of off the top of my head was, I mean, I've done some like cameos where they were quick, and that's literally like going on a movie. Like I'm the guy that opens the door for you, something like that. But as far as me being the primary undercover and it being quick, it was a pedophile. There was a pedophile in jail. He was charged with molesting a young boy, and he got locked up. He got charged and locked up. And while he was in jail, he knew he wasn't going to do good in jail because he's a pedophile. And he asked somebody in that jail, hey, do you think you could find somebody, do you know anybody who's like a hitman who could kill this kid? Because in his mind, if the kid was dead, there's no trial, which isn't a bad plan. So of course he asked that person, and that when you're in jail, it's a shark. They're full of sharks looking for blood in the water. They all want to get out. They all want to shorten their sentence. So as soon as that guy was asked, he reached out to his lawyer and said, hey, there's a guy in here. And then they came through the FBI, and I went up. I only talked to him twice. But after meeting me, I had to go to the jail to meet him. And I remember the first meet, I was like, we had a picture of the kid because it'd been 2 years. I got a picture of him, like we made it look like we had snapped a surveillance photo, but the family knew we were working with the family. But we got a picture of him kind of like walking out, and And I remember telling him that I was an exterminator. You know, I mean, I said, you know what I do because you asked me to come here, right? You know, I get rid of stuff. I kill pests for a living. And he's like, yeah. And I said, you know, is this the pest you won't kill? And I showed a picture of that kid, and he goes, yeah, that's him. And we got that on the recording. So if he says, no, I thought he was talking about like ants or roaches or something. No, he said that's him when he looked at it. And then we talked about money, and then he threw me off. He said, hey, I wouldn't mind it if you killed the rest of his family too. They're up in like Wisconsin. And I'm like, so I was like, dude, I said, I'm not afraid to travel for work, but let's deal with one at a time, you know? Let's talk about this money. And when I went back the second time to meet him, it was kind of to solidify the first meet and get the money. But by that time, the prosecutors had everything they needed.
Where did you meet him?
At a jail. He was in jail.
He's speaking in prison. He was speaking in prison. How did he get in contact?
Through the plexiglass, yeah.
How did you become in contact with him?
Well, he has to put my name, because he asked that other person in prison, did he know somebody? And that guy said, yeah. And he gave him my name, and he had to put my name on his visitors list in order for me to visit him. So that's what happened. And I went into the jail. I'm in there in the stainless steel. Baby mamas are yelling. Everybody's screaming and crying and stuff. And I'm trying to get a recording. I'm like, come on, man. Because that jail didn't record the phone calls between us two. So I'm like, I got to get some kind of recording device and try to make this thing work. And yeah, that's how it happened.
How did they not record your calls, the police, the jails?
I don't know why. I mean, if you call from within the jail, I know they recorded those, but I don't know why at that point. Maybe that's just a Texas thing, or maybe that's what it was at that time. But yeah, he once they approached him and said, hey, that was an FBI undercover you were talking to. He ended up pleading guilty to, he pled guilty to hiring me to kill the kid, and he pled guilty to molesting the kid. And what I didn't know is, I go thoroughly in the book about it, but what I didn't know is that prosecutor's office in San Antonio, Texas, had tried that guy on like 3 or 4 cases prior to that, and they never could get him because they're hard. It's always usually after the fact, well after the fact. It's an adult versus a kid, and a lot of times the kids are from broken homes and stuff, and it's just, they're tough cases to prosecute sometimes.
How long did he get?
30.
How old was the kid?
I think, if I remember correctly, when the molestation was happening, he was 11, and he was 13 by the time I was hired to kill him.
So he molested an 11-year-old and then wanted to kill him to get away with his sentence?
Yeah, so he wouldn't go to jail. Yeah.
What about the guy who passed on your details? Did he get a lesser sentence?
I'm sure he got some kind of credit.
How did that come about? So you have informants in the prison as well for stuff like that?
No, what it is, I mean, you can, but what it is he's in jail, and like I said, you're trying to shorten your sentence. So you have your attorney, and then if somebody comes to me, like say you came to me and you said, hey man, you know somebody, I need this kid killed. I'll go, yeah, I got you. Yeah, let's talk about it. What are you willing to pay? This, that, and the other. I go right to the phone bank and I'm like, hey, I need to talk to my attorney. Come down here and meet me. You come in, I go, hey, this dude over here is, because I need some credit. Give me some credit to shorten my sentence. I'll help you get this guy.
How much was it paying you?
It's not like the movies. It wasn't like $100,000 or something. I think it was like 10 grand, something like that. But you just have to give me something.
I can't believe there's snitches everywhere as well, but that's something to snitch on, to be fair. I don't think that really counts if someone's wanting to kill a kid.
Yeah, I'm with you.
You know, that's disgusting behavior.
But that's what we do. We're in the people business. I know people get the term like, you're a snitch, snitches and ditches. You know, I'm like, I get it, man. You know, 3 can keep a secret if 2 are dead. I know all that stuff. But I'm saying, once it's just me and you sitting in a room and you're not with the gang and you're not with all this stuff, usually they work.
The biker gang, the Outlaws, that was your longest undercover work.
Mm-hmm.
What was the one before that? You'd done a year and a half?
Man, I've done a bunch of ones that are a year and a half.
Is there any sticks out?
I did one that was like, it was supposed to be just a interstate transportation of stolen goods, and then it ended up being a public corruption case. The Outlaws was 2 years. I did another public corruption case that'd be like Dirty Cops. I did that one for a year and a half. There's several that were just a year. I mean, they just ebbs and flows.
And do you have to go to different states? Because surely if you're rocking up with a beard one time, being a biker, and then the next time you're trying to handle stolen goods with no beard. Like, how do you then?
You're pretty much done.
So do you go from, as soon as you go one state, they have to move you to another state?
No, I still stayed at my home base. Like if I'm a case agent, let's say I'm a case agent here, and when I got here, I went undercover here. But once I'm done with that undercover, I'm now overt. I mean, it's now like, hey, now you know I was the undercover, so I'm never going to work undercover in that town again. It's like the Outlaws. After 2 years with the Outlaws, traveling all over the United States with them, I could never go undercover in the Outlaws again because, or even a biker club that was friends with the Outlaws, because there's a good chance that I might show up at a meetup or a party or a rally, and somebody's going to be like, hey, that's that Fed. He's a Fed, you know? So yeah, you want just usually it's kind of like a one and done. Like I'm over. If you're arresting everybody and you're taking everybody down.
How does it work? What's the procedure to go through? Do you get the targets to do it, and how do you end up befriending them? What's the procedure to then meet them at a bar? Like, what's the step by step you go through?
Every case is different, and you got to be careful not to give away like trade crafts, because there's people still out there doing this job. But every case is different. Like if you came to me and you said, Scott, I got this case, I'd like you to be the undercover. I'll be like, okay, well, what do you got? Well, if you tell me, hey, this guy, we think he's involved in such and such, we've got predication, we've got the case, now we want to do an undercover. I'm like, okay, well, what do you know about the guy? You know, well, he's a tattoo artist. Okay, cool. Do you know anything else about him? I mean, does he go get coffee every morning at the same place? I don't know. Just, you know, I can go talk to somebody about tattoos and get tattoos, you know, something like that. Or like in the Outlaw case, they were like, hey, there's this one guy and he loves attention. He loves to be surrounded by big muscular guys, to be like, hey, look at me, I'm the guy. And he loves to be the center of attention. And I used that to my advantage with that guy, because that was right. They were right. And I was sitting at a bar, I was hanging out at a bar, and then the one time they came in, after I'd been there for a while, they came in. I'd gone to that bar several times by myself when they weren't there. And then they came in that night, and that was our first time to try what we'd call like a cold bump. In other words, nobody's introducing me. I'm just going to try to bump you myself. And that's what I did. I was at the bar and I was being loud and I had people laughing. I was cutting up like I always do. And then sure enough, it was eating him up. He was looking over there like, who is that guy? Why? I've never seen that guy in here before. Who is that? And then finally he yelled at me. He's like, hey, where the F are you from? You know? And I'm like, I'd made up some joke, and we started laughing. And then, you know, meanwhile, he's asking the bartender, hey, you seen that guy? Yeah, he comes here. He comes here a lot.
I'd imagine everyone is dangerous when you're going undercover, but I'd imagine the mafia and the biker gangs are probably the most ruthless if they found out you were a cop.
It depends. It could be, if you're doing international crime, like transnational organized crime, which would be like MS-13, the cartel. And the Mexican cartel is pretty ruthless too. I mean, very ruthless, torture and all kinds of stuff. I mean, I worked down there for 6.5 years, and I mean, we got stories of the leader of the Gulf cartel at that time had a line. He would feed people to the line. They had a short statured man. I don't know if, I don't want to say midget, because I don't think that's politically correct anymore. You know what I mean? I don't know, but they had a small man that they would use to rape people, to torture them. One of the last cases I worked there, they had a guy, and he worked with the cartel, but he stole money. And when they found out it was him that stole the money, the last we heard is they had chopped his hands off while he was still alive in a 55-gallon drum of either diesel fuel or acid. Either you burn them slow with diesel fuel, or acid cooks them, and then they call that el guiso, which means soup. You turn them into human soup. So it's pretty ruthless. And by the time I left, they were just chopping heads off.
The little midget raping people.
Mm-hmm.
A little fucker, aren't they? Mm-hmm. Those midgets can't be trusted, I'm telling you, bro.
Look, I thought, we thought it was like a wives' tale. We didn't think it was true. And then one night, there was a guy that stole a car. I guess you could say he carjacked it, from a lady at the gas station. He drives right across the border to try to get some money. So he's in Camargo, Mexico, trying to get some money, you know, and then he didn't look in the back seat. There was an infant in the back seat. So now the cartel is pissed. They're like, you're bringing this extra heat. Why would you steal a car with a baby? So they start beating him and threatening to kill him. And when we got him cut back to us, because the family's calling us and they're like, man, they're going to kill him. They want this much money. So now it turns from this investigation into now we're trying to get this kidnapped victim back, even though he stole a car. But when he came across the bridge, he was crying and he said the midget was in the room. And we were all like, the midget's real? And they were like, yeah. And I'm like,
Were you undercover?
no, I was a case agent there. I mean, so like when I was in the Outlaws, I was a case agent in McAllen, Texas.
2 jobs?
Yeah. So, I mean, I would go undercover in Boston, but then I would fly back home and I would type up all my undercover stuff and still be on the phone with people, but I'm still a case agent. I mean, I was a SWAT guy. I ran all the firearms and tactical training for 2 offices. I was a training agent over at least 1 or 2 new agents. I set the desk for the squad. I'm a workaholic, you know, and I did it to my own demise.
Would they not question that if you weren't around all the time?
Well, what's my story? Do I live in Boston, or do I have a job that brings me to Boston? If I live in Boston, maybe I got a job that takes me on the road, which is very common. I mean, I didn't realize it until I started flying so much. I'm like, man, there are people that live like a 5-hour drive away, but they fly into Houston every day to work, or they fly in for the week and they go home on the weekend. I see it through Atlanta, Georgia. I see it in Houston, and I'm like, well, I'm just going to mimic what they're doing.
So what was the start of the biker gang? How did you get into the Outlaws? What was the whole purpose of that case?
The case team had already been building it. I don't know if they've been working it for a year and a half or whatever, but they had a lot of information, and they had good evidence, but they wanted to go deeper and figure out the whole thing. So they pitched doing an undercover operation, and I went up there and interviewed for it, and they picked me. And then I started learning about who the targets were. And when I say in the United States, when I say predicated, that means that I'm not just going up and saying, hey man, can I buy some dope off of you without even know? I mean, we've got evidence that you are selling drugs. I'm not walking in there going, hey, like if I never knew anything about you and I didn't know at all you did drugs, and I walk up and go, hey man, I got 30 grand if you got a kilo. Well, now we're starting to get into some entrapment issues. Are you doing the drugs? Did you bring it up to me? Because that happened. The president of the Taunton chapter of the Outlaws, as soon as he found out I was in the bottom of Texas on the border of Mexico, he's like, where are you from? I said, I'm down in McAllen, Texas. He goes, where? I said, I'm on the border. He said, how much can you get a kilo of cocaine for down there? Now we're talking dope.
Straight away?
Yep.
That's a bit amateurish, no?
Well, maybe he believed me. Maybe he trusted me because I'd already been vetted by other outlaws before I met him.
How many people in that chapter?
Maybe like 12, anywhere from 12 to 15. Yeah.
And so when you were in the bar, you're being loud, you're being boisterous, who did you end up befriending?
Well, it started with his road name was Spanky, and he called me over and invited me to a bunch of stuff. But that night I met a guy named Scott Town, and he and I became like best buddies. I mean, we were, if any undercover I've ever done in my entire life, that was a real relationship. Me and that guy were so close. We had so much in common. It was scary, like scary.
Like what?
Like we could finish each other's sentences. We were cut from the same cloth. It's just that he was doing criminal stuff and I was an undercover FBI agent. But I mean, like he would take a bullet for me, I'd take one for him. I mean, he liked to fight and ride and drink and lift, and I like to fight, ride, and drink and lift, you know, and I spent time at his home with his family, you know. So
see, that's a dog move, innit? Even though it's your job,
that sucks.
Because you can tell you're a good guy who probably has feelings as well, where you don't.
Even look, I've got the training. I put the training on. I know. I'm an undercover agent. That's not my friend. So we teach, but I'm also human. And when we were out there in the thick of it, he was closer to me than my cover team. If I needed somebody to help me in a fight or whatever, he was my lifeline, quicker than my cover team would be, because they can't get in there fast enough.
When you say you would take a bullet for him, how accurate is that?
If we were in it, I'm just telling you, in that environment for those 2 years, yeah, if somebody went to hurt him, I'd stand up for him for sure. Our relationship was that close. But again, I say again as if I've talked to you, I'm sorry. But when I'm teaching or when you talk to people about undercover, you ask them, you go, what do you think undercover is? What does undercover mean to you? So I'll ask you, when you think of undercover, what do you think?
As for police,
Yeah, just me being an undercover. What do you think I'm
Yes.
doing?
being somebody that's just trying to sneak into the group.
Yep. You get that? We hear like, oh, you lie. Okay, yeah. Oh, you're acting. Not really. I stay pretty close to who I am as a real person. But the true definition is if you're undercover, you're building relationships that you're going to betray. And if you look at it that way, it does suck, because even if, like, I've been undercover for 5 months or 6 months with a group, and then it's like they're not doing anything illegal, not federally. It's not a federal case. So we're like, now maybe we go talk to them. That's still a betrayal, because even though we didn't arrest them, they've been thinking I was Scott whoever for 6 months, and now they found out that I'm actually a undercover agent. And you've got to figure out how you can rationalize what you're doing in your mind so it doesn't have an adverse impact on your psyche.
Were you a biker before it?
Yeah, I grew up on motorcycles.
Yeah, so you don't need to play the part, you just be yourself.
Yeah.
How long does it take to actually befriend someone? What's the procedure to actually get in? Because do you not have to be a prospect?
Oh, so that's a good question. A lot of undercovers, when it comes to biker gangs, what they'll do is they'll hang around, and then they'll become a prospect or a probate, whichever one you want to call it. And that is usually, back then, a minimum of 6 months of probation. And you're getting run through the gamut. It's the whole hazing thing. It's like keeping you up all night. You got to wear the fanny pack with the condoms and the cigarettes and the lighters and the dope and whatever else they may need, tampons for the women, whatever it may be. And then you're changing oil on motorcycles, and you're serving everybody, and they're screaming at you and stuff. And then if you get patched in, then you're official patch. But for our outlaw case, I came up with a different idea. We said, look, like, they were asking me, even the outlaws were like, why don't you patch in? And I'm like, that's great. And even the case team at one point was like, why don't you patch in? And I'm like, no. I said, we're getting everything we need right now, because what they believed I was a high-ranking member, if not the leader, of an international theft ring. It started with them doing insurance jobs. They would report the vehicle stolen, get their insurance money, but sell the vehicle to me at a stolen price. Then it got to where they trusted me. Then they were stealing vehicles and selling them to me. And then they were carjacking people at gunpoint, and they were like, hey, Tex, we got to get rid of this car. So you start gaining that trust, and we were getting everything we needed. But I explained to them, I go, if I was to patch or just probate or prospect, like you said, and they said, Tex, grab your shit, we're going to go around the corner, we're going to jack this dude, I can't say no. If I say, no, I tell you what, you guys go handle that and bring me the vehicle when you're done. No, I'm a prospect and a probate. So a lot of these 1%er clubs that I'll say a lot, there's not, I mean, the big four, but what I've heard is it used to be 1 year of hanging around, roughly, 6 months of probation, roughly, then you patch. Now I'm hearing they're saying hang around for 2 years, probate for a year. That's 3 years. And they're doing that to thwart being infiltrated, to thwart law enforcement.
Better idea though, it's safer for them. It's much safer for them.
Yeah.
To make people go a prospect, because what happens if you do crimes? What happens if you're carjacking? What happens if you're beating people up? Like, how does that affect your undercover work? Like, what's the line?
In the United States, I mean, you have attorney general guidelines, you got all kinds of rules. You can't be involved in an act of violence unless it's self-defense. Now, I have been in fights, but I can articulate what I was doing. Like, you may look at it and go, oh my gosh, man, you're picking these people up and you're throwing them, and these dudes are hitting these dudes. It looks like I'm in the fight, but I articulate in my report, I was actually saving those people. Yeah, I made it look like I was fighting, but I was picking those dudes up and throwing them. So I'd be like, hey, and I'm yelling, I'm like, back the fuck up, and they're like, yeah, but really, I'm like, hey, I'm saving them. And then, like, the dude that's really getting beat, I may go over and grab him and be like, give me some. Let me get to it. I'll pick him up to stop them from beating him. But then I pick him up and I look and like he's bleeding everywhere. I go, he can't even hold his own blood. Get out of here, something. But every case is different and everybody's different. That's just what I did.
So when you started befriending Scott, like, how did that relationship, was that just straight off the bat because you were so alike?
Well, it started that first night I bumped him because I believe he was sent in there to check me out. Because at one point, and he was big dude, jacked, and I'm like, I go to the bathroom, and I'm in the bathroom, and I'm the only one in there. So you got the urinals, and then you got the stalls. But like at nightclubs, they usually have like some kind of advertisement in front of you with the plexiglass, you know, this dancer's coming this week, whatever, come here for car wash day or whatever the hell it is, because it was a strip club, was where we were at. But I watch and I see this dude walk in, and he walks in, and I'm looking in the reflection. I'm like, all right, pretty jacked dude. And I'm like, all right, sleeved all the way down the left side. I see 3 earrings. I see it was like a gray shirt with black edging, you know. And then I watch him and I see him kind of looking under the stalls, making sure nobody else is in there. And then he starts walking up right next to me. And I'm like, oh man, I'm getting ready to get jumped. And I was bracing myself, and he didn't jump. He just said, so where are you from? And I said, I'm from the bottom of Texas in McAllen. He goes, oh, see, if I'd have been bluffing, he would have called me right there. Because he was like, oh, I know McAllen. He goes, I've been down to Brownsville, this, that, and the other. And I go, yeah. I said, I'm originally from South Carolina. He goes, what part? I said, Greenville. He goes, oh, man, I've been all through there. Spartanburg, all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, anything you mentioned, he'd been there. And I was like, boy, I'm glad I wasn't bluffing, because if I would have been, I'd have been done right there.
They must have vetted you, though. They must have been, like, how do you go through the process? What process?
Everybody's different. With them, it was more of a face-to-face thing, and then just building trust with me doing jobs with them. Because the insurance thing, I mean, on the scale of crimes that they were committing, that's nothing to them. They were like, oh, this is so small, you know? And then after maybe 6 of those, they're like, yeah, we can trust this dude. We're making money. And what do criminals want? Money.
And what was the insurance thing for them?
I don't know. It depends on the vehicle. I mean, like if you've got a $100,000 BMW, I'm sure the insurance is going to be good. I don't know if you're going to get $100,000 out of it, but you're going to get something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but if you got a smaller car, but basically I just let them know the truth, that on the border of Mexico, V8 4x4s and Harley Davidsons got stolen all the time, because Mexico loved V8 4x4s and motorcycles. So when I said that to them, that's what they went and got.
And who do you check back into? Who do you report back to, and how often?
Daily. The Boston team, like in the FBI, like we have a cover team. If I'm out, they're out. They might be in a parking lot across the street. It might be if we're in a rural county here in Tennessee, and you know everybody would know if the feds were in town, they might have to sit at the county line and just listen and be ready to respond. But yeah, if I'm out, they're out.
Are you wearing a wire every day?
Not every day. But yeah, I mean, that's what you got to do. You got to get the evidence. That's your job.
Was your cover ever blown or nearly blown?
Oh, nearly blown several times.
Was it?
Yeah.
When?
Well, the Outlaws case was probably the biggest one. After a year and a half undercover with them, doing all those jobs, after a year and a half, we upped the ante. We being the Department of Justice, FBI, and U.S. Attorney's Office and DEA, and we were going to do a drug deal, and they were going to help protect it. But the night before that drug deal happened, they called me to the clubhouse, and I went to the clubhouse, and they took me down into a tiny basement and stripped me at gunpoint looking for a wire, and I was wired. They just missed it.
Why after 18 months?
Because we were getting ready to do a big dope deal. Well, I found this out after the fact. It went all the way to the top, apparently. And the top at that time was Milwaukee Jack, was the national president of the Outlaws. And the way it was told to me is that Milwaukee Jack called down and said, what is this you guys are doing, kind of thing? And they're like, oh, he's good, man. We've done a bunch of jobs with him, and we're not in bracelets and handcuffs. And basically it was, we don't care. You need to check him. And yeah, a year and a half, all that. And at that point in time, my closest friendship was still Scotttown all the way through. Second closest was Clothesline. Clothesline was the enforcer for that chapter. And then it would have been the president, Joe Dogs, and on down after that. But I got to the clubhouse that night, and my second closest friend, Clothesline, said, hey, Tex, you got a minute? And I said, yeah. And as I'm following him, there's one door I'd never been in. I've been in that clubhouse probably 20 times. There's one door I've never been in. And he opens that door, and it's a tight stairwell down to basically it's a crawl space. It's not a basement's being very generous, you know. It's just like a little walkway. It's tight. I couldn't even stand up straight. The roof was so low, and yeah, I get down there, and I knew it was bad because as soon as he turns and I turn behind him, another outlaw comes in right behind me, and I'm like, oh shit, this isn't good. And we went down in the basement, and he told me, he said, they brandished their weapons to let me know I'm not free to leave. And he told me there's a lot of shit going on, and it's my job to take care of my brothers. He said, I need you to write down your full name, your address, your date of birth, your social security number. He goes, I got your phone number. He said, and then I'm going to need you to take all your clothes off because I'm going to check you for a wire. And I had 3 devices on me at that time. And they missed them.
Where did you have the devices?
I'll keep that one hidden because that's tradecraft.
Yeah, must one maybe on the dick or something, like surely not in the ass because you wouldn't hear like.
Well, you know, it was also around 2007-ish. So
devices
technology is different. It's just like your phone. It's like a thumb drive. I mean, you used to only get like what, 1 gigabyte on it. Now you can get like 100 and something. It's just technology changes. But yeah, I went down there and I had 2 recording devices and a transmitter. So the transmitter is so the team can hear me. But yeah, I was writing down my name, and because of the adrenaline dump, because of the fear, the fight or flight, everything slows down. Everything you hear is like you're underwater. It's going whoosh, whoosh. It's going real slow. It might only have been 4 minutes. It felt like it was 5 hours, right? So I'm sitting there, and he's saying this stuff to me, and then you get time dilation with your eyes because of that adrenaline dump and fight or flight. Everything's in screen grabs. It's like click, click. Nothing's moving smoothly. Everything slows down. You can hear your heart beating. My hamstrings get real weak. And I because of the stress, I forgot my middle name. I've been that guy forever. I know that alias. I made that alias. But because of the stress, I was going, Scott Calloway, Scott Calloway, Scott Calloway. I was going, what's my middle name? What's my damn middle name? And I didn't even know I did it until I saw it in a video. I'm like, I never knew I did it, but I do it. What's the distraction technique? I'm just buying time. I'm like, what else do you need? He's like, what? I said, my name and what else? So they yell up, hey, what do you need for that website? So now I'm gathering some intelligence. I'm like, oh, okay, they're gonna run me on Google. And back then there was a popular website called whosarat.com, things like that. And then I remember my middle name, I write it down, and then I take all of my upper body clothing off. I take my boots off, and I drop my underwear and jeans down around my ankles. And they check me, and then I pull my pants back up, and then I think I'm done. Because now I'm coming back up, right? I was like, oh my gosh, now I'm coming back. Okay, I'm calming down. All right, he's done with that. He's checked me. I'm going to be okay. And then he grabs a piece of clothing. And in that piece of clothing was a recording device. And he starts doing this with his hands. He starts going up and down that jacket with his hands, kneading it. And he asked me, right when he goes to grab it, he says, hey, I'm not going to find anything in here. I don't want to, right? Like some pictures of my old lady. And he laughs. And my laugh, you got to understand, I don't sound like this on the recording. My voice is higher. My diction's terrible. I'm talking through my nose because I'm panicking. And he says, like some pictures of my old lady. And he laughs. He goes, my laugh is like, you know, I'm like, and then I'm watching him just go, because I mean, what am I going to do? Even if I get out, they both got weapons. Even by some grace, I'm able to beat these 2 guys and get out of that crawl space basement. They just got through having church, which is their mandatory weekly meeting. All the outlaws there. There's probably like 8 or 10 more outlaws upstairs. And I got to get through them to get to a door that's heavily barricaded with a metal bar across it and stuff. So what are you going to do? And while he's kneading that piece of clothing, he's doing this. And again, I don't know I do it, but I've seen the recording so many times and heard it so many times. While he's doing it, I'm leaning up against the wall and I just go, because I don't know what to do. He looks right at it, misses it, and then hands me my clothing back. And you live to fight another day.
And what happens if they find it?
You tell me. I don't have a crystal ball.
And what about them listening? When do they intervene? Do they intervene, the people who listen?
So that's a great question, because what a lot of people ask me is, what would you have said if he found something? I said, well, I'm a jokester, right? It's also a defense mechanism when I'm scared. If he would have found something, he already said some pictures of my old lady. If he would have said, what is this? I might have said, I don't know, some pictures of your old lady, to try to buy me some time. The only other thing I had to say, man, was the gig is up. I'm an undercover FBI agent, and I can walk out of here and we can see each other in court, or all hell's getting ready to break loose. And I remember it just like it was yesterday. Those are the exact words that I would have said. But it would have been a bluff on my part, because as far as I knew, every time I'd been in that clubhouse, my team couldn't hear me. Whether it's technology, walls, neighborhood, whatever, they could never hear me. But what I found out that night when I turned in my equipment to meet at a predetermined location, probably like 4 or 5 in the morning, I'm handing in my recording equipment, and they're giving me more money for the next day or whatever. And I found out that the 2 task force officers, the Massachusetts State Trooper, Thomas Higginbottom, and the detective from Brockton PD, Joe Cummings, they started the shift. Something about the first interaction that they heard made their spidey senses go off. And they were like, something's not right. They had pulled close enough, or they got somewhere where they could hear me. So the entire time I was being stripped in the basement, they heard everything. And that's the beginning of our shift, because it's like 7, 8 at night, but that's when I'm starting. And they had radioed back to Boston, and everybody that was there was coming blue lights and siren. But they knew me, at least for a year and a half, they knew me, and they were listening. They could clearly hear I was scared. They could clearly hear what was going on, but they didn't pull the trigger, because they're listening and they're going, okay. And they know that clubhouse, because they've been in there for cop stuff. They knew about the metal bar across the door and being heavily fortified. Their plan was, because they'd already vested up and everything, they were strapped. If they decided, or they heard me start screaming or whatever, and they were going to drive the vehicle they were in into the wall right beside the door to kind of breach the wall.
It must be a good feeling as well, though, even though you're scared, knowing that you've got backup there, knowing that you've got people ready to pull the trigger for you as well.
It is comforting, but we teach, don't let that be the reason you got comfort, because I can show you video after video where the door is right here. It's 2 adjoining hotel rooms. The whole response team is holding on to that door, ready to open it to make the arrest. Bad guy walks in and gets 8 gunshots off before they can even open the door. So it's great to have that. It's safe to have that. But if you're going in undercover, you really need to be prepared to handle stuff on your own, because if the crap hits the fan, they may just be coming to avenge your death. And you need to know that. Yeah, I'm not saying be detrimental and be like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to make it. I mean, but you need to be prepared.
Yeah, it's not 100% lifeline.
Yeah. Maybe hang on long enough for the team to get there, Be like this, hanging on.
And what happens if the cover does get broken and they end up busting it? Is that the case then? No more? And obviously, you must have the evidence.
I've done all kinds of different takedowns, and like as many undercovers have. But I've been arrested with the person, and then they don't find out till later. I've been not with the person, but they don't know, and then eventually, on a criminal case, you're going to be sitting with your attorney, and you're going to get what we call discovery. You're going to get everything that we have on our case. So you're going to be sitting there with your attorney and listening to recordings, and you're going to hear me say, you're going to hear me go like, I'll just take my phone right here. It'll be like, my recording will be like, hey, this is me. It's Thursday, January 22nd, 2026. It's approximately 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. I'm going to be going into loft such and such to meet you. And then that's the beginning of the recording. So once they hear that, they know I'm the undercover. They may not know my last name's Payne, but they know I'm Scott.
Was your cover ever blown?
No, never was, but close. Like I said, that was very close. Back at the sheriff's office, there was one. I mean, there's been several, but I go thoroughly in the book about them. But I mean, like just driving around the corner, like I hop in with a source. This is a sheriff's office level, but they're like, "Hey, I got my source. He's gonna make a drug buy. You mind hopping in with him?" No, not at all. Throw on a big jacket, hoodie. Or whatever, stocking cap. And then we ride around the corner, and as we're riding around the corner, I remember being cold and rainy, and as we're riding around the corner, I look at who's running the corner, and I go, oh, crap. And he's looking at me because I was with the Southern Command narcotics team 2 weeks before that and helped arrest that guy. I'm the guy that got that guy out of the bed and cuffed him. And I'm looking at him running the corner, and I'm like, oh, and but I'm sitting there. Now I'm sweating inside because I was young then too. But he's running the corner, and he looks at me. Once he makes eye contact with me, he starts walking across the front of the van. And he never breaks eye contact with me, and I don't break it with him. And he gets right up to the window, and he's staring at me. But I'm holding that money in my hand. And I go, what's up? And he goes, go ahead. Now, when we arrest him, he says, I knew you were that cop. I said, you almost knew I was that cop. I said, you might have been 75% sure, but you had 25% doubt, and greed won, as it always does. You saw that money and you went for it. There's been like, I'm in a house making a buy, and I'm now got some facial hair stuff. My hair's growing out a little bit more, but like I'm still me, right? And I'm making a deal with this guy in some cabin in the woods somewhere, and his brother comes walking in, and he's already got a rifle kind of pointed at me, not his finger on it, but he's got it like right here, hand reach. And we've already gone through the whole thing, man. Are you a cop? No, I'm not a cop. Are you a cop? No. All right. His brother walks in, and I'm looking at his brother, and he says, my brother says you're a cop. And I'm looking at his brother, and I'm going, your brother's right. Because when I was in uniform patrol, I arrested him. But I'm like, how do I not? I just start talking. I was like, I'm not a cop. How do I know you're not a cop? How do I know you're not setting me up? Like, you don't do nothing. We ain't got, just try. But there's been things like that. The white supremacy case, the big one, that's the beginning and the end of the book, where my code name was Pale Horse. I was Pale Horse in that group. And the first time I met them face to face, the team that I met that was going to be covering me, we had no idea really who we were meeting or where we were going, which usually isn't the way we do things, but we were doing what we needed to do. They put a GPS tracker on my truck, and so they could follow me in case they lost me, right? And when I meet these two, I'd say kids, because they're like 21 years old and 19 years old, when I met them, they come walking up, and I figure you're going to check me. I mean, you should. If you're a bad person, when you meet me first, I'd check you, So he comes up, and he says, put your phone on airplane mode. And I'm like, all right, cool. I put it on airplane mode. He pulls out this device, man. It's about this big. It's got like a triangle card on it, all these lights and stuff. And I'm like, what the hell is that? I never seen nothing like that. And it's not like I'm rusty. It's not like I hadn't been in the game. I mean, I know they got detectors and stuff. This thing he had was a $500 piece of equipment that picks up any signal, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, cellular, whatever, man, RF, whatever, you name it. And he wands me, and I'm like, all right, cool. Wands inside the truck, and as he starts walking to the back of the truck, which is where they put the thing, I don't know exactly where they put it, but I saw him go under the back driver's side. As he's walking down the truck, it starts going nuts. It's going, the lights are going, it's got different lights for each thing. And I'm like, oh crap, it's picking up the GPS tracker. And I just dropped my foot back because I'm like, I think we're probably getting ready to throw down. And we were on a hill, and the power lines were low. And right when he's on it, the only thing he had to do was start going up and under the truck. The other guy that was with him said, you think it could be the power lines? And he breaks away from the truck. And as he walks to the power lines, it goes nuts. And he goes, man, it's the damn power lines. He goes, follow us to another place. Now that one, as we're driving, I got my phone, I'm calling the case team, and I'm like, you need to cut that tracker off. And they're like, we don't know if we can do it remotely. I said, you need to do it. And they're like, well, if we get it off, we don't know if we can get it back on. I said, I'm telling you, if you don't cut it off, it's going to be a very quick undercover, because whatever they have is picking it up, and they almost just found it.
What was the white supremacy one? How many was in them?
Well, I've done multiple cases like that, but this one, the group called the Base, I'd say fluctuating around 50 members up and down. But I've been in other groups that had hundreds, but they're all online. But the Base would meet up and do training in real life, IRL. They would do training in real life and vet face to face. And it's really more of like, in the United States, if you say white supremacy, most people think of the Ku Klux Klan, you know, white hoods and robes and stuff. This is not that, man. This is these cats are accelerationists. They believe in there's a book called Siege by James Mason, a longtime white supremacist, and they use that kind of as a Bible. They're neo-Nazis. They want Hitler's Germany back. But picture like a doomsday prepper meets a militia person, meets a white supremacist, because we're out there learning how to live off the land. We're training firearms and tactics all the time, hand-to-hand combat, anything, because it was to train for what they were referring to as the Boogaloo, which would be like D-Day. It would be like the start of the race war. And there was a lot of demonic stuff, some satanic angles to it.
Like what?
Well, your accelerationist groups, this is their theory. They don't believe that there's a political solution that can save the white race. They believe society is going to collapse either on its own or from man-made events. And they want to speed up that collapse, because in their mind, when society collapses through lack of stability, through guerrilla warfare tactics, like you poison a water system here, you derail a train there, you take out a power grid here, you kill a lefty journalist here, you kill an Antifa person here, just to create chaos and lack of stability. That's what they want to do. Hence, they want to accelerate it.
The white race anyway is only 8% of the world. We are the minority.
Mm-hmm.
Do they think that's worldwide, or are they thinking only America? Because I interviewed Daryl Davis. He was the black man that used to go to all the KKK rallies. I interviewed him a few days ago. I went to Washington. Great guy. He was going to the KKK rallies because you're a product of your environment.
Oh.
But he says because the majority of Americans don't actually ever leave America. Because when you're multicultural, when you go around the world and you see all these different cultures, human beings are good. Social media will make us think the world is falling apart.
Oh, absolutely.
I've came all around the world and I don't see anything bad. Touch wood, I talk to anyone and everyone and strike up a conversation. Nobody judges by skin colour. Nobody judges by classes of how much money you've got.
Nor should they.
Yeah, but I just think when people are so dumbed down and think very one-dimensional in a very small box, he called it, it's like a grain of sand in the world. You're in this little small box, not realising there's more out there. Not every black man's bad, not every white man's bad, but there's extremists, racists, sex offenders in all walks of life, all genders, all religions, all skin colours. Everybody should be working together to fight evil, but the whole world is divided, and I can understand why people are gravitating to join these crazy things, because...
Well, here's the thing. The base was worldwide.
Was it?
We had members in the UK. We had members in Australia, South Africa, Canada, Norway, Germany. As a matter of fact, it was after we took ours down, somewhere around London, they arrested a 13-year-old, and he was a member of the base. A 13-year-old, and charged him with domestic terrorism. They said it was the youngest that had ever been charged with it at that time. And different countries are different because you may not be able to get weapons and stuff, but picture this. Just picture radicalization online, because that's where a lot of it's happening. And I'll talk about far right extremism because that's what I infiltrated, but I can talk about far left extremism because I've got peers that work that. We can talk about international extremism. They're all very, very similar in their belief systems. White supremacists end up with their ethno-state. That may not be the whole state, but maybe we got a compound in Appalachian Mountains. There was another section of the base that was looking in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan to set up their compound. There was another section of the base that had property in Pacific Northwest up in, was it Oregon or Washington? Can't remember. I think it was Washington. But if you look at radical jihad, they end up with a caliphate. If you look at extreme far left, they end up with some kind of socialist thing. You start here and you get down here, it's the same thing. They're going to live in a society where it's only their color or only their type of people, and then they get shit for free. It's like how I get everything. You know, I'm like, I remember sometimes I would joke with them because I have to for my own sanity. But we would be like on a rut, you know, be hiking the mountains and stuff, and we'd take a break, get some water or something. And I'm like, so we're neo-Nazis. Yeah, man. I'm like, yeah, so we all want Hitler's Germany back. Yeah, man. Yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to accelerate the downfall of society. Yeah. And I said, who's going to be Hitler? And everybody just looks and I go, well, there can only be one leader, right? Who's going to be it? We're going to fight it out. We're going to see. And there's not a lot of afterthought. There's not a lot of forethought. But picture this. Like I teach to all the ethnicities, right? But there's a video I have that was a great recruitment video for white supremacy. And you probably can't find it anywhere because if you pull it down, you're probably going to get flagged. But I've got it for purposes of training. But I tell people, I go, if you're not a white person, do me a favor. Before I play this, try to get the mindset that you're a young white male, you're a social outcast, you've probably been bullied and beat up by some other ethnicity or something like that, and you can't get a partner. You have a hard time getting a partner. You're socially awkward. Now you sit up all night on that smartphone and you start driving down rabbit holes of Telegram and all these different channels and Discord and whatever. Am I saying that everybody on Discord and Telegram is bad? No. But am I saying bad people go to those peer-to-peer encrypted networks to do bad stuff? Absolutely. So now you find a like-minded individual. Now you find a bond because, in my opinion, human beings, we're kind of made to connect.
Tribalism.
Yeah. Like, I know there's people that say, I don't like being around people at all. I'd rather be by myself. Well, there's some terms for those people, but I still call BS on half of them. They would love to be around somebody. They just can't, and it's awkward, and they're lonely. And now you take that and you start twisting it. Radical jihad, same thing. They're going online and they're radicalizing people online. They're radicalizing people here in the United States to do bad things, you know? And it goes, I mean, it's very similar to me in the 80s and 90s, the cults and the gangs. A lot of times you find somebody from a broken home, you know, and all that brotherhood stuff. You know, we're going to beat you in, but you got to bleed out if you want to leave. But you're going to be a brother now. Now you're part of the family. Hey, if you go to prison, we'll take care of you. We'll put money on your books. We'll take care of your family. Does that happen? No. And then they come out of prison pissed off because they never got any money on their books and their family wasn't taken care of. And they took the rap for the, and maybe that's where we've developed somebody. Maybe that's where I'm like, hey, how would you like to provide me with some information? You know, I'm not trying to, I'm just trying to stop bad things from happening. We don't want innocent people getting hurt, you know?
How many people were in this white supremacy worldwide?
I don't know. I mean, I've heard articles or read articles. I think my article even said it. It was like, you know, there's millions of white supremacists, like neo-Nazi, like white supremacy is the number one threat to America, and there's going to be Nazis on your doorstep tomorrow. I'm not saying that, but one death is too many. One, you know, look at all these active shooter events that are happening, like the Buffalo. When you see the kid run in there and he's just mowing down non-whites. Matter of fact, on the video, he comes around the corner and it's a white kid that works the cash register or whatever at the grocery store. And he's down in between the aisle and he comes around and he goes, huh, and the guy screams, he goes, my bad, or something like that. You're white, you're okay. He goes and just, it's a sickness. But I will tell you this, from what I've seen, there's two things I'll say. Hate begets hate. If the far left does something to the far right, like doxes them, puts them out there and says, this person's a white supremacist, and now they start protesting at their kids' schools, their business, their home, and they lose all that. Okay, you won that battle. But over here, you've got far-right extremists going, how many of our brothers have to fall before we start retaliating? And then they start wanting to do stuff back. Hate begets hate. And the other thing I always say is it all starts at home.
How organized are they, the white supremacists?
Some are very organized. But again, I've been in a group, I was in a group of neo-Nazi white supremacists just online. I think I met with them maybe twice. Thousands of posts, hundreds of people in that group, thousands of posts. I would go to bed and I would sleep like 5 hours. I would get up, I'd be like 2,000 plus posts behind. And for 5 months, I read I don't care if I got to go all the way back up. I made sure I gathered all of it for evidence, and I made sure I read everything because I didn't want to miss something and something bad happened. But after 5 months of reading every racial, anti-Semitic post, I'm like, they're just talking trash, which in America, you have First Amendment freedom of speech. So they're talking trash. They're not literally doing acts in furtherance of harming somebody. They're just training for it, when and if the D-Day happens, then they want to do something. But that's not an arrestable offense.
When you see D-Day, are they planning on killing black people on this day?
I'm gonna tell you what, they hate Jews more. At least the ones I was thinking the same thing, like KKK. I infiltrated them too. I'm like, all right, yeah, they hate blacks, but the groups I'm talking about, the neo-Nazis, anti-Semitic, man. They hate Jews, hate them.
Why?
I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. I mean, because Hitler did, but Hitler wasn't even all white, you know?
It's like, it's lack of education as well. It's lack of knowledge. And you'll tend to see human beings have got a lot more in common than people think, no matter what it is. No matter what it is. People probably like sports. We all got to eat. Blood comes through our veins. We're all kind of similar. People, if you actually have that conversation, our minds are just warped by choosing a side. Like you say, left, right. I don't give a fuck who you are. I think it's all, I don't care for politics. I think they're all corrupt. I think they're all full of shit as well. I'm trying to understand people.
Yeah.
And I interview people, like when I interview people from the left, the shit I get. I interview people from the right, the shit I get. There's no winning. Nobody's ever happy.
No.
Why are you giving them a platform? I'm unsubscribing. I'm thinking, listen, I don't care. I'm just because you don't like, just because you don't like someone, it doesn't mean people shouldn't interview them. The world doesn't revolve around you.
Yeah.
Like, people think that's their whole world and you should only be like them.
Oh, I know.
Like, it is.
I mean, look at these protests here. I mean, most of them are being paid to be there, but I don't know how much money they make. Maybe I should go do that for a while, bring in some money, I'll be out there protesting. But I often tell people, I'm like, look, it's okay for you to like something I don't, and me to like something you don't. We can still get along. And I'll usually say, you like to eat food? And they'll go, yeah. I go, me too. That's one bond. You like oxygen? I love oxygen. That's two. Let's just go. It's just so crazy, the vitriol and the hate. And, but we've let a lot of it escalate without any retaliation. I don't want to say retaliation because that sounds bad. All I know is where I grew up, if somebody came up, and even to this day probably, if somebody comes up in my face and they're screaming at me and they're spitting at me, something's going to happen. I mean, I'm not going to let you just sit there and do that, but a lot of people have gotten away with stuff. And, I'm a law and order guy. With that being said, I look at people as people, Sometimes you can get very jaded when you show up and nobody's happy to see you and people cuss at you and they spit at you. You can get very jaded, especially when you're hitting it day after day after day. But I try to take a step back if I can and say, look, that's still somebody's, even active shooter stuff. Even if there's active shooter event going on and that person, the bad guy, is shooting and we come down and we do our due diligence, we do what we're supposed to do tactically, and we stop the killing. Boom, put them down. We got all kinds of things we do to get we got a whole thing we teach, all kinds of stuff. But eventually we got to move from stopping the killing. Once that's happened, we got to move to stopping the dying. That may mean that if I just shot you and you're the only person that's injured, I got to start working on you, even though you were the bad guy shooting kids. And then some people are like, screw that guy. I'm like, yeah, but that's still somebody's son. That could be somebody's dad. That could be somebody's brother, whatever. I mean, we still have to do our job.
What about the satanic stuff?
Oh, yeah. So in the accelerationist world, if you start scratching the surface enough on a lot of the accelerationist groups, like Adam Waffen, which is kind of defunct now, the base is trying to make a comeback, but they changed their names. You're probably going to find somebody in there, in most of them, that is messing with like Order of Nine Angles, and that's white supremacy, but it's heavily satanic, pedophilia, rape. And then you got offshoots of those, like the groups now that they're calling nihilistic extremists. Not necessarily a white supremacy, black supremacy, nothing like that. It's just that but they still want to cause chaos. They still want the downfall of society. And that's groups like 764. You see 764, or I think there's one like Hell, and there's like Cult. But those are heavily satanic, and they are pushing for rape, pedophilia, self-torture, taking your own life, small animal torture. And what 764 and those groups are doing is they will get young kids, tweeners usually, in the teens, and somehow they get something on them, or they're in a group, and then they start, you can be sextortion, extortion, whatever. It's like, hey, if you don't do this, we're going to let your parents know, or this, that, and the other. And they literally have watch parties where there's multiple people in this Zoom meeting or whatever it is, WhatsApp, Telegram, Discord, Wire, and it's a point system, and they are forcing people to cut themselves, harm themselves while everybody else is watching. They call it a bean because if you take a knife and you cut open a navy bean or a lima bean, the center's real white. That's what fat looks like. So they want to see that bean cut. People have taken their lives. Like I said, pedophilia, harming children, harming animals, and heavily satanic. And it's disgusting.
What group's this?
That was 764, but there's other ones around them. But you start diving in and you'll see the satanic side to it.
So it's like a cult. They're all cults anyway.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it's pretty sick. And it was created by kids. Kids. So that's what I said earlier, and I didn't elaborate on it. For me, it all starts at home. Now, I'm not trying to go, we can go off on tangents. I'm not trying to say a single mother working 2 jobs who can't be at home. That's not, she's trying, you know. You can be a product of your environment. You already mentioned that. But for me, everything starts at home.
What should people look out for, parents?
You need to be more aware. I tell people all the time, especially with like this pedophilia, 764, stuff like that. I said, hey, if your kids are playing Roblox and Minecraft, great. If they're playing Roblox and Minecraft and they're wearing a headset, great. You need to know who they're talking to. If you're a fisherman, do you want to go to a fully stocked pond, or do you want to go to a pond that don't have any fish in it at all? You want to go to the fully stocked pond. So bad actors like pedophiles or 764 stuff, they're going in and they are getting kids through games, through stuff like that. But the biggest thing I tell people is you got to stop talking about it like it's not happening. You got to talk about it like it is happening. I mean, kids with Snapchat in I don't know, 7th grade, trading naked pics and sex all the time on Snapchat.
Back to the biker stuff. So after you got strip searched, what happens after that?
I don't sleep. I can tell you that. If I slept, it was about 30 minutes that night. Adrenaline dump. I was pissed too. But the next day we pulled it off. We did a drug deal. We had 40 kilos of cocaine, 1,000 pounds of marijuana. In 2007, 1,000 pounds of marijuana is still a big deal. And they helped move it. They helped guard it and move it from one truck to another in order to meet my cartel contacts. And then from there, we did some more stuff. I mean, like the Outlaws murdered a Hells Angels president. I got to Sturgis. The first day I got to Sturgis with the Outlaws, Hells Angels shot 5 outlaws at point blank range. I think it was 2 women, 2 patch members, and a probate. But either way, very bad stuff. And those people were messed up for a long time. And again, I'm not saying all bikers are bad either. I mean, that could have been a very good person, you know, but the biker war stuff is crazy. And then it got to the point to where I'd befriended, one of the guys who was now the Southeast regional president. And the plan was for me, if we could make it work, for me to go down to Florida and try to patch under that guy. And I said yes, but I didn't realize I was already done. My body, and I'd been running for 3 years at such a pace, I took myself out. I mean, I took the warrior mentality and I applied it to everything in life, and it didn't turn out too well for me.
But why? Surely if they're getting 500 kilos of weed, surely that's enough to get your conviction. Why do you need to keep going to keep building a case?
So a lot of times that's the hardest part when you're working a long-term case, because you go where the case takes you. Like if it's a dead end and we got to take it down, we got to take it down. If somebody's been hurt, we got to take it down, we take it down. But a lot of times it's hard as a case agent and as the undercover to be like, but there's this one guy that just showed up, man. He's got this big deal. Let's just try to get him and then we'll be done. And then it leads to something else. But you got to remember the dope charge was probably on maybe 5. I'm trying to think how many people helped us that day. I don't know, 5 to 8 people helped us that day. That's not all the outlaws. We've got other stuff where we're working over here, and this group of outlaws did an extortion. This group of outlaws carjacked somebody. These ones are doing home invasions. We're trying to build as much as we can and probably milk it for everything it's worth. But once I crashed, that was it. I mean, we just finished it on the phone and we took it down.
How did they pay for the 500 kilos?
50. Sorry, we had 40 kilos of cocaine and 1,000 pounds of weed. They didn't pay for it. I set it up. They believed that my cartel contacts, because I was taking all the stolen vehicles to Mexico, so they thought. And that really happens in real life. So all I was doing is mimicking what really happens. And they wanted to get it. If you're a drug dealer, what do you want? You want the purest dope you can get at the cheapest price you can get, so you can make the most money off of it. And they really wanted to meet my cartel contacts. So we set it up to where, hey, there's a load coming through. My guys are going to be driving it. We're going to be meeting another cartel group. They're going to be taking it to Canada. If you want to meet them, let's set it up. And that's what we did. So they protected it. They were like security for it.
See, when they're giving you cars, is it not a bit like kind of wary that they might actually bug the cars to see where the cars are going?
Could, yeah. And I mean, listen, we had SWAT teams set up. There were snipers on the roof because we can't let, can you imagine if the FBI lost 40 kilos of cocaine and it went on the streets and people died from it or something? 1 gram, you can't do it. So, yeah, we were very concerned about a rip or being ripped off. And that was also what we used them for. It was like, hey, we don't know this. I don't know this other crew. I don't know if they're going to try to rip something off, kind of thing. But yeah, we were watching it pretty good.
Why did they kill the Hells Angels president?
It's probably an old beef. That's why they were riding up the road in Bridgeport, Connecticut. It was supposed to be a Florida plates with a green truck with Florida plates, and we knew that the Outlaws for Florida were up during that time. And then I pretty much confirmed it when I was down in Florida, hanging out in the back. Even though I wasn't a patch member, like I said, they were treating me very well. I parked my bike right at the front door on a world run in Daytona Bike Week, world run. Pulled my bike right in the front door. They walked me in, give him anything he wants to drink, and I'm not wearing a patch. And everybody's looking at me like, who the hell is this guy? And then I started getting scrutinized. It's like, who are you? Where are you from? And then I ended up going out back in the tented area, which to my understanding only patch members could go. But they pulled me back there, and in crappy code, they were talking like this guy was like, there was one outlaw who's pissed. He's like, I'm gonna kill this. I'm gonna kill this guy. He goes, hey, they're expecting retaliation right now. Wait, let it marinate when they're not expecting it. He goes, you know how long I had to wait before I just did that thing up there? Kind of like, it was like that. And I'm like, is he talking about, because we knew it was Florida guys, and I was pretty sure he was involved. I'm like, is he sitting here talking about that murder right now? But we never did pin it on him as far as I know.
What was the retaliation after the Hells Angel president got killed?
Well, you could say maybe that was the retaliation at Sturgis. Because after Daytona, let me get that right. Did we do Sturgis first? No. The Hells Angel president was killed before Sturgis, right? So then Sturgis happens, and then 5 outlaws are shot at close range. So
who has the biggest biker gangs in America? Is the 4 big names? The
Hells Angels, Outlaws, you've got Banditos, and probably Pagans after that. The top 4, probably.
Well, the only place Hells Angels aren't is Scotland. Old Lenny actually passed away. He was the old Blue Angels president. He just passed away, and there was like 1,000 motorcycles at his funeral there. Same as my brother-in-law Greg, his dad Jamie. He was president of, what they called? I forget their name. And you should have seen his funeral. Just bikes, bike after bikes, hundreds and hundreds. But the Hells Angels is the only place in the world they don't have a chapter is Scotland, because they fought with the Blue Angels. They didn't let them in.
Cool.
And I'm not just saying, don't want the fucking Hells Angels coming for me. Do you know what I'm saying? So how? And then after that, then, so when does it all come crashing down? When do you get enough evidence? Obviously, you've befriended Scott, who's became like a brother. When does it all come crashing down? Because not only have you got the bust, but how do you break the news to him? Obviously he must have been broken-hearted.
So the way it ended is because I crashed mentally and physically. I got psychologically assessed. They told me I couldn't go back undercover, but they said I could finish the case on the phone. And there was a guy that had just got out of jail before I crashed, who I met, and he knew that I'd worked in dope and I worked in stolen stuff, and he called me. I'm down in McAllen. I get on the phone with him. He goes, hey, man, it's me. I'm like, yeah. And he goes, so you know what I do for a living? I go, I'm kind of familiar, you know? And he goes, well, I know you're into that magic powder and so am I. And I'm like, all right. He basically says, if I can get him a kilo at 18,000 a piece, he has enough to buy 10 of them. So he's got 180 grand. And then he tells me he also has some cars he needs to get rid of. He had a Hummer, a Hummer 2, and he had like a 7 Series BMW and something else that he wanted to report stolen or whatever and do that thing. So I called the case team and said, hey, he just reached out to me. Do you want me to set it up? And they said, yeah, let's do it. So I set it up, and literally I'm in my garage. I got 2 phones. I'm calling Tim Sylvia, not the fighter, but the outlaw guy. I'm calling him, and I'm on the phone with the truck drivers who are undercovers, and I'm like, hey, all right, you go here, okay, go here, put them together, and even while they're meeting him, they call me. The other undercovers call me on the phone. You can hear it on the recording, and he's like, hey, Tex, I'm here right now. He goes, yeah. He goes, okay. He goes, hey, puts me on the phone. I said, put him on the phone. So I get on the phone with Tim on his phone, and I'm talking to him. And he's like, hey, I'm going to report the BMW stolen Friday. I said, can you wait till Saturday? I said, that'll give me 24 more hours before that tracking device. I said, and it'll be in Mexico by then. He said, yeah, I'll wait till Saturday to report it stolen. I said, cool. And then they asked me, my friend who was a truck driver at the time, he says, hey, how much do you want me to pay him? I said, $21,000 for those vehicles. I said, do you see the vehicles? He goes, yeah. I said, $21,000. He said, okay. So while they were loading up those vehicles, he asked them, hey, can you get me 10 kilos at 18 apiece? And they said yes. And what we did is we just did a reversal. When they showed up to deliver the dope to him, and he had the money and everything, they came in and did the arrest. That was the first arrest. So I'm in Nevada teaching. I wasn't there for the takedown, but I get back to my hotel room and my phone's chirping. And I listen, and Scott Towns left me a message. So I call him, and I don't know what time it was in the morning there. I can't remember, but it was early. And he's all raspy voice because he just woke up, and he says, hey, man, I just want you to know your truck driver, they just called me. Your truck driver, Big T, and the other guy that always rides with him, man, they said the cops just locked him up. And I said, what? And he goes, yeah, I just wanted to let you know. And I said, well, they weren't up there doing anything for me. I said, sometimes they do their own thing. I said, now they did. I said, we picked up some vehicles from Timmy or whatever. And he said, listen, man, he goes, I'm going to get up, get in the shower. I'm going to find out what the hell's going on, and I'm going to call you and let you know what's up. And I said, okay. And our last words to each other, he said, I love you, brother. And I said, I love you too. And I hung up the phone, and he didn't know it, but about 45 minutes later, a SWAT team was going to hit his house. And then he went to jail.
It must be a mixed emotions of
Yeah.
the case is over, you've put your whole life into it all this time, to then also losing a brother who's not going to have your back anymore. Like, how do you separate business from friendship?
Well, it's not easy, especially in that situation. Because I mean, I'm his youngest daughter was 1 year old. My youngest daughter was 1 year old. They're basically moving and talking the same. So I'm up there spending weeks at his house rocking his daughter instead of mine. So I mean, it can mess with you a little bit. But hell, I always liked the guy. So.
But as much as you're a good guy,
I loved him. And you know what? Here's the thing.
you have got the ruthlessness in you, though.
Yeah, it could have been me. I could have easily been him. It's just that proverbial fork in the road. I chose to go that way when I could have gone that way.
Is there no way you can try and plant some seeds for him to change his life before it gets too much, or is you just too far into the job?
You got to be careful. You got to be careful. But I did do one thing, because he had told me he had been in the game before and almost got wrapped up into a conspiracy and was looking at 25 to life. And he said he wasn't doing that kind of stuff anymore because he had 4 daughters at that time. And so before this big drug deal, I told him, I said, all I did was reiterate what he said. I said, why are you doing this? He said, what do you mean? I said, you told me you don't do this stuff anymore because you got 4 daughters and you don't want to go to jail. I said, I'm just telling you, I know we're best friends, but don't do this for me. You don't have to do this. And he said, nah, I'm in. Now, if you listen to him, he's going to say, he's probably thinking, if he wasn't involved and I got hurt or somebody got ripped off, he would have never forgiven himself. So it's the friendship.
How was it being around his daughter and stuff, like knowing that you're going to put her dad in prison?
Well, in the beginning, I didn't know if I was going to be putting him in prison or not because he wasn't a part of those big deals. And I think if we had him on anything, it was like small stuff. But yeah, I don't know. It's just
So he wasn't going to get a big sentence without that drug deal?
the drug deal's a big sentence. Yeah. So, but I think I bought some pills off of him or something. We had him on some stuff, but I just, that was my one out. I was like, hey man, I'm just letting you know, you don't have to do this. that was me serving it to him. And he's like, oh man. And I'm like, oh, I tried. I mean, I can't say, hey man, I'm an FBI agent. You don't need to be doing this shit. You know?
What would happen if you did do that?
Oh, I'd be in big trouble. I mean, I'd probably never work undercover again. The Bureau would shut me down for sure.
Because you were best friends with him, do you think he possibly did get involved because you were involved?
On that big drug deal, possibly, yeah. Possibly. To keep me from getting hurt.
He's there to protect you, and then he ends up in prison. Because he was pretty petty, no? He wasn't really doing any murders or carjackings, just a few pills here and there.
Probably, yeah. But he did get a good chunk of change that day. Because him and Joe Dogg's got the biggest chunk of money for helping me plan the whole thing and set it up.
How much did they get in prison?
Joe Dogg's and Clothesline, I think they got 12 and a half, I think. Scott, I think, did 6 or 7. 6 or 7.
Okay, that's okay.
It still sucks ass.
Have you ever been in contact with Scott after you got him to jail?
Maybe. Here's the thing I'll tell you. You go on Joe Rogan in the United States. My book came out March 25th. I was on Joe Rogan the 26th. It aired the 27th. In 3 months, I was a New York Times best-selling author. A lot of people see that. And even some of the people who don't like me see it, right? And they start blasting me on Instagram and stuff. And I'm like, is that Chocolate Scott? Is that Black Scott? And I hit the button and I go, oh yeah. It says when you opened up his Instagram account, it said Chocolate Scott, 1%er, F you Scott Payne, you big bitch. That's what it says. I'm like, that's funny. Then he starts going on all my posts going, I'm a loser, you suck, you know. I've seen you naked in a basement, you know. I think it's crazy stuff. Yeah. And then I just blocked him. I laughed at first and I'm like, because I could totally see him high. I could totally see him smoking weed and typing that and giggling, you know. But yeah, I just blocked it.
And what happened after that case?
Well, I moved. I mean, I had to, first of all, I had to fix myself. I wasn't allowed to work undercover for a minimum of 6 months. I had to make sure that, you know, I was taking care of myself. I had to figure out, I had to set up what I call tripwires and accountability buddies moving forward so that I wouldn't do too much. I needed to start learning how to take better care of myself.
Were you losing yourself?
I was just burning the candle at both ends until I ran out of wax. Like I would be a case agent, running my own cases, training agents, running all the tactical and firearms training, being on SWAT, running firearms for SWAT, sitting the desk on the squad, and then I would be undercover. And sometimes I wouldn't even take my days off because I didn't want my management in McAllen or out of the San Antonio division. I didn't want my management being mad at me for not being there. So if I worked all weekend long on an undercover, I got back, I would just eat the days. I wouldn't take them. And then I got to where I was working so much that, I mean, by the time I got to Daytona, man, I was a zombie. I wasn't paying attention to it, but I was on antihistamines, decongestants, inhalers. I was taking hydroxycuts. I was drinking the strongest coffee I could make. I mean, it's a cocktail for an anxiety attack.
Did you ever worry about someone putting a hit out on you?
Well, I've had threats on me before in my law enforcement career. Yes. In the FBI, I mean, you know, if you feel threatened in the FBI and you hit that button and say, man, I feel threatened, the threat assessment team is going to come in and you're probably getting moved and you're not going to have a choice of where you're going. The way I looked at it is because I was a cop. I'm like, look, just take 1 year in Greenville County, South Carolina. How many people you think I locked up? They're not all felony cases where they're going to be gone forever. How many times do I go to a grocery store, a movie theater, or the mall where I run into people that I've locked up or maybe fought, you know, and then locked up? And then you see them. I mean, what do you do? Me, the way I did it is I'd just go up and talk to them. I'd be like, hey, man, how you doing? How you been? How's the family? You staying straight? You know, whatever. Let me know if I can do anything for you. That's how I would do stuff. But I know it is different when you go undercover because it's a different type of betrayal. But I've tried to be respectful, man. A lot of the people that I've even been undercover against, I would leave my undercover phone on for at least 30 days after the takedown just to see if anybody's going to threaten me or anything. And I would get drunk dials. They'd be calling me going, hey, this is your boy Mike. I know you're just doing your job, buddy. I just want you to know I love you. I'm like, I love you too, man. You know, it's like the business. It's a cat and mouse game. They're trying to commit crimes and not get caught. We're trying to catch them.
They always get caught though.
I don't know. My average is pretty good.
What's the worst thing about being an undercover cop?
Man, if you ask it that way, I'm right now, I'm sitting here thinking a lot. I'm thinking time away from family. I'm thinking the stress on the family. I'm thinking the stress on me. I'm thinking, because in the FBI, it's voluntary. Like, again, you're a case agent. SWAT, firearms, tactics, defensive tactics, those are all collateral duties. You can apply for them, you can get certified in them, and you can do them, but it's very rare. I mean, like if you're at Quantico, yeah, you're a full-time firearms instructor. You're a full-time tactical instructor. But in the field, I was still a case agent, still working undercover.
Do you have any regrets?
No. I'm not somebody that looks back on my life and regrets a whole lot of things. There's probably 2 or 3 things that I can say that I've regretted.
What's the worst thing you ever seen while you're being an undercover cop?
Oh, there's a few. I mean, that white supremacy case we were doing, they were saying they were pagan, but it's not true paganism. They're twisting it to the white supremacy ideology, right? Kind of like Hitler using Norse mythology and all that stuff. So they're twisting it that way. But we did a weekend, we did a Halloween weekend hate camp. And at that hate camp, I passed out in the truck for a little bit, and I was woken up to them banging on the window going, pale horse, you got to get out and see this. I'm like, what's up, man? They're like, remember us talking about a sacrifice? And I'm like, uh-huh. And they're like, we got a goat. And I'm like, uh-huh, you got a goat. They went down the street, stole a goat out of somebody's yard that only had like 3. It might have been a ram. I don't know the difference really. It was big. It had horns. And they stole it. And we go down and do a blot, but a white supremacist blot, and sacrifice the goat. We all pray to our gods. It was going to be the start of the wild hunt. And in Norse mythology, wild hunt is essentially Odin and other gods going out and beating the crap out of their enemies through the night. But the way it was in the twisted ideology of the white supremacists was the start of the wild hunt was going to be us starting the cleansing of the world of anti-fash and non-white.
Is that like Satanism as well?
You could say that. I mean, some people were praying to satanic gods, depending on which pantheon. But I portrayed Norse pantheon and, you know, Odin and Freya and things like that. I mean, but we went down there, we were all in a circle, and the guy that led the blot, whose code name was Eisen, he had, it's kind of like a machete, but I think it was bigger than a machete. It wasn't quite a sword, somewhere in between. And he was going to chop the head of the goat off for the sacrifice. He does this whole spiel, and he's practicing. We're all in a circle. I'm holding the back of the goat. Not sure how the hell I ended up there, but that's where I ended up. And he comes down to strike it, and he strikes it hard. And it just, all you hear is thunk, and the thing goes, bah. I don't even think it broke a hair. I don't know if the blade was dull. I don't know if the back strap on the goat was too thick, but I'm holding the back of the goat going, oh, this is going to be bad. I just started picturing bloody scene. And then somebody's like, it may take 2 swings. Somebody's yelling, do it again. And then somebody's like, does anybody have a gun? Now, the rule was we weren't supposed to bring any weapons down there. But the one guy who was the least qualified to handle a weapon, I mean least bad, he'd brought a pistol. And when he said, I got mine, like several of us were like, what the hell, but pulls it out, hands it to Eisen. Eisen chambers around, and as he starts to point towards the goat, he turns his head away. And that's when the instructor in me came out. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. He says, what? I said, dude, we are all in a circle on our knees. Look at what you're shooting at. You're going to shoot one of us. Oh, yeah. He goes, pow, puts it in his head, it hits the ground. It twitches and twitches and twitches. Now, earlier he had told me, because I said, hey, is it bad that I feel sorry for the goat? He said, pale horse. We got to show this goat love. It's going to Valhalla to Odin. This is a sacrifice. We love this goat. Do not let the goat hear you say that. And I'm thinking, I don't think the goat is buying what you're selling. I think the goat's upset right now. I would be if I was the goat. And he says, we don't need that negativity. We don't need that negativity. And it needs to show up to Odin with love. I said, okay. So when it's still sitting there twitching 2 minutes later, I said, man, why don't you go ahead and put another round in it? He goes, I'm pretty sure it's dead. I'm like, yeah, but for the love of the goat. So it shows up happy to Valhalla. He's like, you know what, you're right. Bam, another one. And it stops moving. Well, you think you're done? Nope, we're not done. Now they slice the throat of the goat, fill up a cup full of blood, and Eisen decided to bring acid. So he's tearing off, I don't do it. A couple of us don't do it, but he's tearing off hits of acid and under the tongue, chase it with the goat's blood to signify, to solidify the sacrifice. So by the time it gets to me, I'm last because I'm holding the flashlight for Eisen. I think I'm either next to last or last. And I look and it is already clotting. It's already getting chunky, coagulated. And I look down going, oh gosh, I don't want to drink this. I really don't want to drink this. And one of the guys was like, hey man, I said, this is getting pretty chunky. He's like, you could just dip your fingers. So I dipped 2 fingers deep in the blood, sucked all the blood off. And then they chopped the whole head off. We carried the head around for 3 or 4 days. They cooked it. It was not made for eating. Oh my gosh, that was the gamiest meat I've ever tasted in my entire life. Ate its heart. Pretty sick.
What are you thinking when you're in these satanic cults undercover? Like, do you ever laugh and think, what? Like,
well, on that one, I was kind of grossed out. Now, I had fun with them later, the ones that were tripping acid. I'd take the goat's head and go up and mess with them, Why did you do this to me? And I'd be holding the head, and they're like, oh my gosh,
Do you think they've all got mental health issues?
Some.
Like a bit retarded, where they're easily manipulated.
Some.
Do you know how when you've got the paedophile hunters?
Yeah.
And they're preying on like the creepy, when you see them chase them with the videos and they look kind of deformed, like they are an easy target. Do you think these people are easy targets too?
Well, I've seen, at least in the Bay, well, and the other groups I've been in, I saw all kinds. But did I see some kids on the spectrum? Yeah. On the spectrum of autism and maybe, but I know plenty of people with autistic kids and stuff, and they're not white supremacists, but maybe it's easier to recruit. I don't know.
How long did you serve for? How long were you in the police force?
5 at the sheriff's office, 23 in the FBI, so 28 years total.
And how was it when it came to an end?
It's been different, man. I thought I had a good game plan for retirement, but I've learned that I've got some issues, and I've learned in our community, first responder, military, there's a lot of us that come out on the back end and we've got PTSD. We've got, maybe we drink too much. Maybe you're smoking THC too much. I don't know. Maybe it's, but I'm learning that it's very common in our community that you've been a go-getter and you've been pretty much an adrenaline junkie. I mean, car chases at 130 miles an hour and you're 4 feet off of somebody's rear end, shootouts, fights where you think you're going to die, stripped in basements, all this stuff. And then all of a sudden it's gone and you're sitting around and you're going, well, what do I do with my idle time? You got to find things. And I will say the first year and a half after retirement, I probably sauced it up a little too much.
Alcoholic?
Yeah. Well, I won't say I'm addicted, but you know, because I've quit. I don't have any withdrawals, but somebody, as every alcoholic says, right? I'm not an alcoholic. It's just I'm wrestling. I'm trying. But it's like, what are you going to do? I mean, the book stuff's taken off. I've been wide open, but I will say that because there's not a steady income, other than my pension, which isn't that much, it's not enough to sustain a family. I can tell you that. And my retirement plan runs on stocks. And there was a previous regime here in the United States, and I didn't pay attention, and I lost over half. Oh, I lost half of everything I had, and we didn't spend it. It was just gone. And I'm like, oh. So I'm hoping it'll build back up. But I'm out there hustling, man. I'm doing speaking gigs. I'm traveling all over the place. And now that you get more fame, now you've got Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 100 companies. They want you to come speak and hang out and have a drink and tell stories. And it's paying good, but I'm kind of burned out on travel. You know, I hate traveling by myself. And then, yeah, it's just, there's bumps in the road, man, but I'm trying. I'm taking it one day at a time.
Do you ever feel used? Do you ever feel used?
Do I feel used? Nah.
By the system?
Nah. I'm not like that. I don't really have a victim mentality. I really don't. You can have the same situation, exact same situation, but you think about it differently. Are you a victim or are you a victor? Are you a victim or are you a survivor? You know, it's just a different mindset. And generally I am always a glasses half full optimist. If I wasn't mentally, I don't know if I could have, me personally, I don't think I could have done what I've done. It would have rocked me. All the stuff you see, because a lot of people don't understand the evil that's really out there. I mean, some people can't deal with it, and that's cool. Stay in your bubble, you know, whatever, but just know that there are evil people on this planet that want to do evil things to good people. Not everybody, but they're out there. And it's been that way pretty much since the beginning of time. That's where I think my crew comes in, you know, that shepherd mentality, protecting the flock.
When are you at your happiest?
Oh, you're going to get me teared up. I'm the happiest when my family's happy. When everybody's happy. And we've had some happy times, but there's been attacks. There's been some things that have happened. Other times I'm happy playing music. I'm a musician and a singer. I freaking love playing and singing. I love lifting, but that's another whammy right now. Like I went and got stem cell therapy. So if you get stem cell therapy, they don't want you lifting or doing anything for 3 months because new tissue's growing, old tissue's being repaired. And the last time I went, I kind of screwed up because I got both knees, both elbows, and my shoulder shot. And I'm like, well, hell, the only thing I can really do is abs, I guess. I can't go too I can't do lower body. I can't do upper body. So I'm about, what was it, December, the week before Christmas. So what am I, a month or so out?
Not long.
Yeah. So I got 2 more months and then I can get back in there. And that'll help me feel better too.
How's life now?
If you asked me 3 months ago, I would have said it was freaking awesome. But working through some stuff.
The thing about you, you'll get there. You always do. And when you go through some stuff, sometimes it's like a cleanse as well. Sometimes you've got to go through that stuff to find better stuff, no matter how difficult it is. You've been through many difficult decisions, but the thing about you, Scott, you've always got through them, no matter what. You just need to navigate yourself through it again, what you've always done. Sometimes you get older and it can be harder, but life goes on no matter what we're going through. And that's the fucking hard truth.
Yeah.
That's the hard truth.
Sometimes that storm's hard though.
Of course it is.
Especially when you've been through storms many, many, many times in your life. And you're like, man, I'm about to be 55. But do I have to go through this storm right now? Yeah, man, do I want to start over at 50? Hell no. You know? But we'll see, man. Working through it.
You'll get there, brother. Was there any gigs that you enjoyed? You loved being undercover? You actually just get up and thought, yep, I'm loving this one?
I love the Outlaws, other than being stripped in the basement at gunpoint and almost getting found out. But I mean, that's my gig. I mean, just a bunch of testosterone and black leather, and we're tossing each other over tables. You know what move I like? I like this one. Wham! You're slamming stuff. You know. I have found well, not the pedophile one, but I mean, even the short-term murder for hire stuff, I find humor. I can find something in there, you know. And there's a lot of humor in the book, but there's some brash stuff in the book too, but it's all true. And there's some sad stuff in there, and that's true too. But I hear a lot of people say I'm a transparent person. That's the way I like to be. But I've heard a lot of people after reading that book or listening to it say, "Man, you're very vulnerable. Like the vulnerability comes through." And I'm like, that's the way I believe teaching works. I could have 10 groups come in here and present their cases, and everything went great, and it was all cakes and pies. You're not gonna remember that. I'll show you a video of me being stripped in the basement. I tell you how scared I was, and I tell you about my wife praying for me and all this stuff. That seems to resonate more. And that's not about me. That's just the way I believe in training. And that's when I've received great training, it's always, there's something real attached to it. So I'm still trying to pay it forward. I'm still going out there and trying to spread knowledge, but you know, I got a shelf life, you know, it's all in there. But after 10 years, those stories have been told. What am I doing now? So
What bike did you have?
well, I've had several in different cases. The one in the Outlaws, I had a Fat Boy. I had a Fat Boy.
Harley?
Yeah, but we put ape hangers on it and stretched it out and stuff. They're all Harleys. On another one, I had a 2000 Road King, and I did the same thing, man. Stretched it out for my long legs, put ape hangers on it. Kind of really what I did is I used FBI money to change the bike for the case, but I was doing my own research to see if that's what I wanted to do to my personal bike. And, you know, after I did it, I was like, man, this thing feels good and rides good. I go, that's what I'm doing to my bike. I'm going to put black ape hangers on, you know. So, but yeah, and for a long time, it was the Bureau that gave me my motorcycle fixed, because I didn't have a motorcycle, a personal one, for a long time. But I always had one in the Bureau, so.
What's the best advice you have ever had? What's the best advice you have ever had?
Well, you know, I'm thinking on the teaching stuff, off the top of my head right now, because when I crashed mentally and physically at the end of that Outlaws case, on my rebuild and me coming back and building myself back up and finding out how it happened and not letting it happen again, Joe Pistone, Donnie Brasco, people like that called me, and my nickname in the Bureau was always Big Country. So like, hey, Big Country. I'm like, hey, what's going on, boss, man? They go, how you doing? I go, I'm doing pretty good, man. They said, listen, take care of yourself, take care of your family. But as soon as you can, put pen to paper about everything you've learned through this process and what you would, you know, what you found, the positives and negatives, because that's how you pay it forward. That's how you teach. That was some great advice.
Did you ever think you would have a book out?
No, I didn't want it either. I mean, I had friends in the industry. I just wanted to go be a consultant and hang out backstage, or maybe even grab a part on the show if they thought I can act. But then it was my friends said, you need IP. And I go, what's IP? And they go, intellectual property. And I go, what's intellectual property? I'm like, I'm a cop. I don't know what you're talking about. And then that's when they made the phone call to the journalist for Rolling Stone magazine. And we weren't thinking he would bite. He would want to talk to me because we didn't think he really liked law enforcement that much. And but after talking to me for like 45 minutes, he flew down the next week. And then when that came out, it was crushing it. On Apple News, we were the top story for months and months. And then people started seeing it, and then people started reaching out to Rolling Stone saying, we want to talk to this guy. We want to do a book. And I still said no for months. But the journalist, Paul, from Rolling Stone magazine, is very persuasive. And he kept wearing me down and chipping me away. And he said, would you please just talk to 2 of them? And I'm like, okay, I'll talk. What's it going to hurt to talk? And the second group I talked to, it was pretty amazing. And I'm like, and they had already done a retired FBI undercovers book. And I was like, who? And they go, the art guy. And I go, Bob? And they go, yeah. And I go, you still talk to him? They said, all the time. I said, give him my number. Tell him it's Big Country. Give me a call. And I talked to him for like 2 hours the next day. And he's like, told me, he said, Country, you can't do any better, man. So that's what I did. And now I'm very happy I did it.
Yeah, you should be. Like you say, you've had a great career. You've done some amazing things. Obviously, the goat thing's a bit strange, but listen, you had to be there. Yeah.
Yeah.
For anybody watching, brother, that's maybe in a life of struggle right now, what advice would you have for them?
Reach out to somebody. talk to somebody. I say this when I'm teaching law enforcement, and we talked about this offline before we started, right? But or did we already said it? Number one, or we're like very high in suicide. We said it on this. So what I tell people is just go find somebody. Go find somebody. I get not talking to, again, first responders, military. We're very high, if not the leading, in suicide, substance abuse, divorce, and dying within 5 years after retiring. And I get the proverbial, you don't want to talk to the psychologist at your department. Because what if somebody leaks it, or what if management says, whoa, we got a problem? You don't have to go there. Go somewhere else. Find somebody. Talk to somebody. I will pretty much guarantee you are not the only one going through what you're going through. And you are not the only one who's ever gone through what you're going through. And it helps to talk. It helps to cry. I cried a bunch today. I hated it when it was happening, but when it was over, I was like, oh, I feel a little better. You know,
Scotty boy, you're a good man. You can see you wear your heart on your sleeve. I wish you nothing but the best for the future. Again, thank you for your book. Thank you for your time. You should be proud of yourself, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you do for the future, my brother. Would you like to finish up on anything else?
Only thing I'll say is I quoted Martin Luther King. Oddly enough, it was Martin Luther King Day the other day. I quoted him in the book because I saw a quote one time and I was like, oh my gosh, that is perfect. And it says, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. That's Martin Luther King. That goes right there. It's like, hey, keep paying it forward. Do the right thing. If you're law enforcement, don't tarnish the badge. Don't. Do the right thing. And take care of yourself, man. Love. Man, it takes so much energy to hate. Have I hated? Yeah. Have I been evil? Yeah. It takes so much energy, and it's not rewarding at all, really. But you go out there and you spread love, as cliche as it sounds, it's instantly gratifying. Put a smile on somebody else's face.
My brother, listen, again, thank you, and I look forward to seeing what you do for the future. And if you ever need a phone call or a helping hand, listen, I'm a phone call or a text message away, my brother.
I got you, man.
God bless you.
You too, buddy.